Let's do it, bitches!
Public Yemeni No.1.
Fuck, I'm eating. Shit, I fucked up. What's up, bitches? In typical tradition of this podcast, we have to have some technical difficulties. I got everything fucking right, but I had to fuck it up with eating. So,
hey, when you gotta eat, you gotta eat.
that is right. Guys, put your hands together for Michael Schirtzer.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please.
Fucking Mike, man. So glad to have you here, bro.
Thank you so much for having me. So pleased to be here.
Yeah, buddy. I wanted to, just say that, we've seen each other at the open mics.
Yep.
We're kind of the same class in terms of comedy, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
How long for you?
6 to 8 years.
Oh, so you're longer than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm only 4.5 years in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would say we're both a part of the group of comics who like works a good amount, managed to make some money from comedy.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah?
A little bit, yeah.
And like what? Like how you were on the road a lot?
Well, no. So like I ran my show in Malibu, and that's maybe a good jumping off point about the Ed Asner story. We just lost a legend. R.I.P. to Ed Asner. He marched with Hugo Chavez Cesar Chavez. He marched with Cesar Chavez and the farm workers. He was a great dude, classic TV guy. And he was having a one-man show at the Malibu Playhouse in like 2015. And I was just starting out in comedy. So I just attended it as a, audience member. And what happened is he injured himself right before he was about to go on stage, like gashed his leg open, had to get transported to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So this place, the Malibu Playhouse, is like a 99-seat theater. People had paid a lot of money to see him. It was full, right? There was a lot of tension because people were expecting him then. And so the showrunners were starting to feel the pressure. My mom, bless her, she says to the director of Ed Asner's show, she says, my son does stand up. And the director looks at me and he says, nobody knows your son.
What?
I swear. And the joke's on him because I've been doing stand up for years and people still don't know me. But after a few minutes of pressure from all of the rich whites, he caved and he was like, throw the kid up, and that night. And literally I had done like 5 open mics. I was not, I had like 2 minutes of material, maybe, being generous. And I ended up doing 30 minutes of warm up before Ed Asner came back, got stitched up, crushed the show, right? His performance, and then took me and my family out to dinner.
What a classy guy.
Yeah, great guy.
What?
At dinner, he told me stories about classic TV like Mary Tyler Moore. And, he just told me industry secrets and stuff.
That you never utilized.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I learned it. I didn't apply it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so then I ended up running my show there for about 5 years from 2015.
Starting from that night.
Not from that night, but like the Playhouse director, who was different from Ed Asner's like show director, was like, hey, you did a good job. You should run a show here maybe. And I was new. I was young. So I was like, nah, you know what I mean? I had no idea, but I did it and ended up being good. We ran the show monthly for 5 years. We sold out a bunch. We had, touring headliners like...
You never put me on your show, motherfucker.
Bro, I probably had you booked and then like COVID fucked it up. Yeah. But yeah, we had people like Tony Baker, Ian Edwards, Laurie Kilmartin. So
nice.
It was cool.
That's fucking awesome, bro. Did you hang out with them any time after that?
Ed Asner?
Yeah.
A couple times, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I went to his premieres and stuff and attended some dinners that he was at.
So he was like really cool like that. He like kind of like almost took you under his wing.
Yeah, man, I would say he's a comedy mentor.
That's fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah. And a legend in the game, obviously. So super lucky to have met him and, even accidentally performed on the same stage as him. What's
crazy is that I remember when we were like working or like, you know, in the same open mics together, seeing each other in the community and stuff. I never knew you were like pro-Palestine at all.
Yeah.
Like, I never heard it at the open mics. You never like told anybody, or like even me being Arab, you know, you never like even came up, or so it was like a big surprise when I think the pandemic hit, and then everyone was inside, and we all had more time to like use Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you just started popping off with those Palestine videos, and I'm like, yo, Michael Schirtzer snapped. What the fuck happened, bro?
So it was a combination of things. Like, I'd always been, let me just run you through the whole thing. I was in a Jewish fraternity, right? So I was in AE Pi, which means I was exposed to a lot of Zionists, even though I would never call myself a Zionist. I was in spaces where Zionism was proliferating, right? And I didn't say anything about it. And I learned about Zionism from the inside, right? From those people. So one time we were getting hazed in our fraternity, and we had been like tied up. They put the like head things on us. You know what I mean? Like our
Head things?
Like our heads were covered.
Oh, like a bag. They
like
put
a black
bag over
bag.
your head,
Yeah, like they black bagged us, and
like they Abu Ghraibed you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we were just like placed in this room, and a lot of the Americans were kind of bugging out, right? But there were IDF guys in there who were kind of just chuckling, and we were all like, "Hey, what's up with you psychos?" You know,
They were chuckling about what?
they were talking about the situation. They were like, "Ha ha ha, we used to do this to Palestinians all the time." And I remember I clocked that at that moment. I was like, "That's weird," right? And this was in college. I was like, "That's weird. That's strange."
You were like, what, 20? 19?
Yeah, like 18, 19. And, you know, I was never a pro-Israel person. I grew up in a family that was like, we're Jewish. Most Jews support Israel. That's what I understood.
We did.
Yeah.
And your parents were like, they just basically...
Not like heavy pro. I wouldn't say that. But they weren't like pro-Palestinian. And so... you know, I clocked it in that moment, like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then they kept telling me more stuff that sort of opened my eyes to what is going on, and that, you know, maybe it's not the moral army that I'd heard it was from their propaganda arm. And then I once crossed a demonstration in college that was like, Israel is an apartheid. And I was like, word? You know what I mean? I'd never heard that before.
You never heard the word apartheid?
No. I'd never heard it
Israel?
to Israel. I knew of South Africa, obviously, but I was like, oh, I've never heard Israel called an apartheid. So I wasn't like emotional because I was never like a heavy supporter, and I'd also already learned that weird information. So I was like, okay, maybe I should check this out more. And I was anti-imperialism. I was against Iraq. I was against Afghanistan. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a huge leap for me to be like, oh, Israel's fucked up too, actually. Right? And I'd been more like a quiet supporter of Palestine, somebody who shows up to the protests, somebody who donates, somebody who shares petitions.
This is like in your 20s.
Yeah. I started it with, you know, mostly environmental activism, like Occupy Wall Street and, you know, financial, economic equality, etc. But gravitated towards larger issues like Palestine, and was always out in the streets, always protesting, but never somebody who was speaking about it openly as much as I should have, I feel. And so when I had time to sit with myself and my actual thoughts, it just kept screaming that you gotta say something about Gaza. You gotta say something about what's happening every day in Palestine.
When you say you were sitting down with your thoughts, you mean pandemic?
Pandemic, yeah. So I'd been a part of the uprisings, the police uprisings. I was there on the first day when we met up with the police and confronted them on Fairfax and 3rd, basically, and they fired rubber bullets at all of us, you know what I mean? And, you know, I just was getting more involved with, like, mutual aid.
This is during the all cops are bad, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Right.
All cops are bastards, which I do believe.
I disagree.
That's a personal opinion, and that's fine.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
And so, yeah, I just was getting more involved with causes, mutual aid and stuff. And I felt that I should be using my voice more thoroughly, right? Because Jews in particular have a responsibility to speak up about what's going on in Palestine because anybody who says anything about the apartheid Zionist state will get called anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah.
You could just type the word Israel on like Google and that shit'll call you anti-Semitic. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, are you anti?
Yeah.
It'll just give you a quick anti-Semitic check.
Yeah, somebody will bust in with a search warrant.
Yeah, it's like verify that you're not an anti-Semite. You know what I mean?
Why are you searching Israel?
Yeah. And so, I think Jews have a special responsibility because it's a silly thing to call us anti-Semitic, right? We're Jews. And also the things that are going on are similar to what happened to Jews previously, right? In the Holocaust, in Nazi Germany. And so, I feel like there was a recent hostility, like a huge genocide that happened. They bombed the shit out of Gaza. They killed, hundreds of people and, injured many more. And I was talking to people in Gaza at the time through direct message, and it felt like I was talking through like a time portal to my ancestors in Nazi Germany. You know what I mean? Where they're like, we're scared. They're marking numbers on the doors and stuff. This is actually in the West Bank as well. Not in Gaza specifically, but all over Palestine. I just felt like, I was talking to my family.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You made the connection.
Yeah, so let me run through a few points, right? The Nuremberg laws stripped Jews of their citizenship, their ability to intermarry, and you see something similar with the 2018 nation-state law in Israel, right, which downgraded Arabic, made settling in the national interest, made it so that it is nearly impossible for people to intermarry, and there are groups, terrorist groups like Lehava, which will terrorize anybody trying to intermarry, right? They are against mixing, is what they say. The Stars of David, right? All Jews had to wear Stars of David to identify that they were Jewish. All Palestinians have to have ID cards. These ID cards indicate a specific level of access, right? Some people have access to Al-Aqsa, some people don't. Mm-hmm. Some people are stuck forever in Gaza.
I've seen
right?
that. I've been there.
Some people have access to Ramallah. Some people can't get to Jerusalem, right? There are different levels, tiers of access. There are also different roads specifically, right?
Which is so racist.
I mean, it's definition of apartheid.
It is.
Right? You have
Jewish-only highways.
Jewish-only highways.
That allow Jews to safely travel from Tel Aviv.
Safely.
Tel Aviv over stolen
Occupied
territory. And allows them to drive on a freeway that goes over Palestinian land, and then they can just go to their homes that are in stolen land.
Stolen homes. Stolen homes and stolen land.
And they're continuously still stealing.
To this day, they're kicking people out. Sheikh Jarrah, they are demolishing homes in Jerusalem. They, Lifta, Silwan, they are busy demolishing Palestinian homes, trying to wipe any trace of Palestinian history off the map.
Why is it so easy for them?
So this goes into the psychology of it, and there's an old Israeli philosopher, Yeshayahu Leibowitz, who talked about what he called Judeo-Nazis. He said, and Noam Chomsky mentioned this as well if you want like a more timely reference. He said that it comes to the psychology of what allows people to do terrible things or to allow terrible things to happen to other people and not say anything, not feel any remorse. And it's because you've dehumanized them, right? You've dehumanized them to the level where you call them a cockroach, you call them a rat, you call them something that just needs to be exterminated. And you see that daily in the Israeli vernacular, right? They are all about like, we neutralized the terrorists. It's all about that. It's a glorification of the military and a dehumanization of the Arab as an other.
They successfully do it in Israel. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading a lot where they, change the curriculums in their textbooks and all kinds of tactics they do to dehumanize Arabs and make them seem like they're less than human.
And
so
let's just talk about the calling of Palestinians Arabs, right? Palestinians are Palestinians.
Okay.
But they call them Arabs.
Oh, I know.
Because they don't want to acknowledge
I know.
Palestinian history, right? They don't even want to say the word Palestine, because the word Palestine in and of itself is a challenge to their very claim to the land.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, God gave us the land. Most of us don't believe in God, but he gave it to us.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, please.
This blew me the fuck away. So, speaking of the whole term of saying Arab instead of Palestinian, right? I love to travel overseas. My favorite place to go is Southeast Asia. One of the other favorite places I like to go to is Thailand. When you go to Thailand, you will run into a lot of Israelis traveling in Thailand because they can't go to places like Indonesia because Indonesia doesn't allow you to go there if you have an Israeli passport.
Shout out to Indonesia.
So you meet a lot of Israelis in Thailand. And I was at this club and this Yemeni girl is eyeballing me from across the room. One thing I have to admit that I love about Jewish women or Israeli women, they're very direct. If they want you, you're going to know. It's great. Okay.
Yeah, there are people that kind of take what they want. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I was kind of proud of myself for this moment, right? So she showed up and mind you, I learned really quick how to get Israeli pussy. And the key is to make sure they don't find out you're Muslim.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, that'll do it.
Because there have been a lot of times where, like, you know, I was like in Thailand and I was cleanly shaven. And when I'm cleanly shaven, you know, I'm ethnically ambiguous. And then, like, these Israeli girls will ask me, "Are you Jewish? You must be Jewish." And what it is, like, a lot of Israeli women, they almost kind of fetishize American Jews. You know, the American swagger, but you're also Jewish. And, you know, I would tell them, no, I'm Arab or whatever. And as soon as I say that, they start speaking Israeli with each other and they just fucking walk away.
They speak Israeli.
Whatever, Hebrew, whatever the fuck they
no,
speak.
it's okay. It's a... Yeah, they you thought you were about to get laid, and then all of a sudden you got a gun on you, and they're asking for your papers. You know what I mean? Well, they're like, "Hey, what are you legal?" You know,
this is a joke that I made. I was like, no matter where you travel in the world, if you look like an Arab and you encounter an Israeli anywhere in the world, this becomes a checkpoint.
Yeah, they'll tell you to get out of whatever country you're in, even if it's your country.
No, they just start asking all kinds of questions.
Yeah,
and it's all racism questions.
Yeah,
where are you from? Where's your family from?
Yeah. What's your place of business here?
What is your grandfather's name?
Yeah.
It's just like so fucking weird. Anyways, so this Yemeni girl eyeballs me and she's hanging out with all these other white girls. We start talking. She does the same thing. Are you Jewish? So this time I played a different strategy. This time I said, I don't know. I might be. I'm adopted.
Oh, wow.
I'm adopted by a white family.
It's a slick move.
It's a slick move, right?
Yeah.
I go, I'm adopted. I have no idea. And one thing that I notice about Israelis or Jews, if they like you, they're either one going to convince you you're Jewish or try to get you to become Jewish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she's like, no, I think you're Jewish. You really look like you might be Israeli. You should really look into it and blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. She was fine, okay?
They're always trying to build their numbers, you know what I mean? Because they know they're a fiction.
Yeah. So she's fine. This is his Yemeni girl, right? Mm-hmm. So I now was like, okay, I'm going to turn this into like a, experiment. I want to see what happens. Her friends come up. Again, where you from? Where's your family from? They didn't like the fact that I didn't know what race I was. Even the guys keep asking, where you from? I'm like, I have to, guys, I don't know. I'm adopted. I could be Mexican for all I know. You never did a gene test? You never did anything?
Bro, they're very obsessed with like gene science. Uh-huh. You know who else was obsessed with that?
Who?
Nazis.
Nazis, exactly.
Nazis love gene science.
Okay, so this is the weird thing, okay? So then she now, all of a sudden, the club lets out. We're outside now. And her friends are like speaking Hebrew and they're like, we want to go grab some food or whatever. And she invites me, come with me. She likes me, right? She's attracted to me. Okay, so we go to this little outdoor restaurant. We're sitting outside. Me and her are sitting next to each other. Her white friends are talking to each other. And we start talking and all of a sudden I start eking in about Palestine and this, that, and the conflict and coming from
let me stop you right there, Papa. Yeah. It's not a conflict. It is an occupation and colonization of Palestine, right? Would you call the genocide that happened to the Native Americans here a conflict.
Or the Holocaust.
A conflict.
Yeah, not
You
a
wouldn't.
conflict. Right. So thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Hey, that's why you brought me on.
that's why I brought you on, man. You're the resident expert here, bro. I'm the Arab. I'm completely ignorant. You know, there's a lot for me to learn.
Hey, there's a Jew teaching an Arab about Palestine right now.
End of the podcast. So here's the thing, man. We start talking, and she gets to a point where she was like, "No, Israel is really nice, you know, whatever, but the Arabs, they make it so difficult for us. I don't like Arabs."
Yes, it must be tough for them.
So hold on a second, and then I go, "You're Yemeni,"
Yeah.
and she goes, "Yeah." I go, "But aren't you Arab?" "Yeah, but that's not what I mean when I say Arab." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, the dirty Arabs, you know, the ones that they try to take our homes and they try to take our land. And I'm like, isn't it the other way around? Aren't you guys trying to take their land? And now she's short-circuiting, okay? She's not expecting this. And I'm coming from the angle of like, I might be Mexican. I don't know what I am, right? I got disgusted with this girl. I couldn't believe I was like getting this cognitive dissonance from this Arab. Here's this Arab who's hanging out with all these white, like European born Israeli citizens. And she's a lot like that Ice Cube thing. She goes, black police showing up for the white cop. You know what I'm saying? And I was blown away. I never thought I would meet a Yemeni who would shit on Arabs being Arab. But then when I tell her you're Arab, she's like, no, I'm not that Arab. Okay, so
It's a central tenet of Zionism, actually, to separate Arab and Judaism, right? So that the idea of being an Arab Jew is an oxymoron to a lot of people. I've done 2 podcasts recently, one with Hadar Cohen and one with Masoud Hayyoun, When We Were Arabs and Reclaiming Arab Judaism. And we talk at length about how the early Zionists the militias would come by to Arab Jewish households and be like, do you need protection from the Arabs? And they would be like, we're Arab. You know,
so weird, bro.
And so they fractured the identities, right? And to the point where you get people who are Arab who don't identify as Arab. They're like, no, I'm not. They even hate the features about them that are Arab, right? And so they like try and ingratiate themselves in like Western European standards of beauty, society, etc. Furthermore, it goes deeper. Are you familiar with the Yemenite Affair?
No, what's the Yemenite
Affair? The Yemenite Affair is when the early Zionist government took a good, like I would say hundreds, if not thousands of Yemeni children, right? And separated them from their parents, gave them to European parents to whiten them up, basically.
What?
Yes. The Yemenite Affair. Google it.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they never like apologized. Nobody was ever,
So it seems like this girl was a product of that.
She might have been. Honestly, that's what I was thinking. I was like, damn, it worked for her.
So let me tell you. Let me finish this story up. So we get done eating. We're walking back. I'm still playing ignorant. She wants to fuck. It's obvious. She's basically saying, "Be the man. Take me to your place, or whatever." She was fine, but man, I was blown away by the racism, and it blew me away that I'm talking to a Yemeni who won't even try to like be like I'm Arab. So, anyways, me and her fucking white friends walking back out. You ever been to Thailand?
Yeah.
Tuk-tuks, tuk-tuks?
Yeah, love them.
The little fucking, if anybody don't know what a tuk-tuk is, it's a Thai taxi. It's like a little motorcycle in the front, but then there's like a carriage in the back. And a lot of the times they would like, they personalize it with like designs and lights and, whatever. So it's a little cab with a little motorcycle in the front. We walk up to the tuk-tuks and her friends, we get there and I call a tuk-tuk for her. The tuk-tuk comes up for her and her friends. I let her friends go inside. She's like really showing like, are we doing this or not? I'm like, hey, it was really nice meeting you, whatever. You guys have a good night. I call my tuk-tuk over. Tuk-tuk comes up. I'm about to get into my tuk-tuk and I couldn't fucking resist. Before that tuk-tuk took off, I told him stop. I went into the carriage and I looked at every girl in that place. I go, you guys are all fucking racists. They're like, excuse me? You are all fucking terrible racists. I go, especially you, to the Yemeni girl. How dare you walk around being an Arab and you won't even call yourself an Arab? Here's a news flash. I was lying to you. I'm Yemeni. And then I tap the tuk-tuk driver and he takes off. And as he takes off, she goes, I'm Yemeni too. I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out of here, bro. What the fuck is that? So this Yemenite affair, I had no idea about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the many scandals that exists in the early Zionist government. I mean, they were literally made off of a mass genocide campaign. People who were defenseless, they had almost no weapons, whatever weapons were left over from the Ottoman Empire. But the Zionists had village files on any type of resistance that would come from Palestinians. So they were completely outmatched. They anticipated every sort of resistance that would come. And they murdered people. They raped people. They killed people. They put a person in his own oven, a baker in his own oven.
A Yemeni?
No, a Palestinian. The militia, the Zionist militias, put a baker in his own oven. And this was like a couple years after the Holocaust.
Why is the world quiet? Is it because the Zionists have successfully guilted white people with the Holocaust?
Yeah, so I sent you a video where one of the Israeli officials, government officials, talks about how they've successfully kept everybody quiet. Anytime anybody mentions anything from the United States about the human rights abuses against Palestinians, they're smeared as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, you did give me that video. I don't know if I queued that one up. Which one? What's that called?
I would imagine anti-Semitic is a trick. I'm not sure.
Hold on a second.
But I can keep talking about it. Then she was
I'm
like...
going to try to look it up. Keep talking. I'm going to try to look it up.
So she said, basically, anytime anybody mentions Palestinian human rights abuses, they're smeared as being anti-Semitic. This government official said, it's a trick we use. She said this to Amy Goodman on NPR. Shout out to Amy Goodman, a national treasure. And then she was like, and if anybody from Europe says anything, then we bring up the Holocaust. We use this every time. She was just basically talking about the playbook for keeping people quiet, people in place who are trying to raise awareness.
Here it goes. I'm gonna play it.
Great.
Can I play it?
Play it. She sounds evil, by the way. You'll hear it in her voice.
The lady?
The lady, yeah.
Hold on a second. I want to see if I can pull it up this way because I know I have it here.
Wow.
What?
Oh, no. I was just saying that the margarita is delicious that he made me.
You like it?
He made me a strawberry margarita. And it is,
okay, hold on a second. Hold on.
That's Amy Goodman. I recognize her voice anywhere.
Yeah. I just want to, I want to do this one right. I can't believe I didn't connect this one real quick. I just want to get, because now I'm like actually utilizing this, this program better, and I want to do it right. Usually I just pull it up online, but I don't want to do that no more. Play video, choose file. Sorry guys, just want to get this right.
Pew pew pew. I'll tell a joke real quick if you want.
You want? Yeah, do
I
it.
don't know if you know that I wrestled in high school with homosexuality. All right, always came out on top. That's true. Huh? Well, pretty good stuff. Your boy almost went D1. You know what I mean? A lot of full contact.
All right, I'm going to play this Amy Goodman piece right now, and let's give this a watch, guys.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people, and they have power, money, and media, and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people, and that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
So
Did she just literally just break it down and be like, yo, this is what we're doing, guys?
piece by piece. And I got to thank
And
her.
who is she?
She's a government official who worked for like the Ministry of Information, their propaganda outlet.
Okay, and
I got to thank her for being so forthright, because I used to have to say all that myself. And
Yeah,
then people
me
would
too.
and then people would be like, you hate the Jews. And I'm be like, I'm Jewish actually. And then they'd be like, well,
you're a self-hating Jew.
yeah, which by the way is anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? Nobody does anti-Semitism like the Zionists, right? They'll tell you
I'm a Semite.
right, but like specifically they do anti-Semitism against Jews. Like, it's the only thing that they should be represented at the Olympics for. You feel me? They do it so good. They call like they call you a self-hating Jew, because the implication is that in order to be a good Jew, right, you have to love apartheid Zionist ethno-states. You have to love.
I can't believe that. I've never seen that clip that she just
Yeah.
literally would say that. I almost want to play it one more time, bro.
Go ahead, yeah.
Just
Play it again.
for us to like
Run that shit back.
run that shit back, guys. I'm
Yeah.
gonna play this again. Can you? Who is she again? She was what?
I forget her name exactly, but she did serve in the government of the apartheid state.
Now, is she saying this stuff as a fuck you guys? This is
Yeah.
the game plan, or is she literally going, "Hey
Yeah.
guys, I just want you to know this is how we're fucking over the Palestinians," or she just
No, it
being
was the
like,
first one.
or she's just like, "We're fucking over Palestinians, and we're so good at it. I'm just gonna tell you how we do it."
It's the first one entirely. It's this is exactly what we're doing, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Okay, I want to watch this one more time. Just.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When
What the fuck?
from Europe,
Not a trick.
somebody is
A trick? A trick?
So you're a magician?
Yeah. You work in the street, hun?
Did you get this trick from David Copperfield?
Come on.
criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money.
Organization? What organization?
What organization indeed?
ADL?
I think she's referring to AIPAC and the other
Anti-Defamation
Jewish,
League.
Israeli Zionist lobbies, right?
And the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong.
She said American, and then she
Clarified.
corrected or said Jewish establishment.
Right.
She meant American Jewish
Well,
establishment.
let's talk about that, right? Because everybody thinks that Jews and Zionists are the same thing, but they're actually not at all, right? The Zionists want people to think that all Jews are Zionists, but that's not true. There are tons of anti-Zionist Jews who hate Zionism, who think that it's destructive, who are actively working with Palestinians against Zionism.
I've seen them. I met them.
Right. And there's also tons of evangelical Christians who support Zionism. So you don't have to be Jewish to support Zionism, right? Because the evangelicals support Zionism for the purpose of bringing about the rapture. They want Jews to settle in Jerusalem. They think it brings the second coming of Jesus. We all perish in the aftermath.
And that's the crazy thing is that
So when you say
Let's talk
so when you
about-
say I'm anti-Zionist, right? It has nothing to do with Jews.
no.
Zionism is a political philosophy that's existed less than 200 years.
Right.
Right? Judaism is one of the oldest Abrahamic religions.
Right.
Right? So it's like, what are we talking about here?
I just want to play the rest of this. This bitch is flipping me out.
And they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people and they have power, money, and media and other things.
Yeah, she brings up the media. The media is a very big purveyor of this.
She sounds like an anti-Semite. Somebody should light her up for being anti-Semitic.
And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering
Wow.
of Jewish people. And
Wow.
Hey, you know when there's a good time to
justice.
talk about the Holocaust is when somebody's talking about your human rights abuses.
Isn't that fucking crazy? So basically, she's saying that we're just going to use the death and destruction of Jewish people during the Holocaust,
Yeah.
and we're going to rape that
to justify
to rape other
what's
people.
happening right now.
What the
I wouldn't use
fuck?
the word rape for it.
Rape.
I wouldn't use that word
Rape.
personally. Please don't.
Why?
I don't know. I just have followers that would probably be triggered by sexual assault type things. So.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, yeah, they are. I would say like they're pimps. Like they're tragedy pimps, right? They pimp out the history of the Jewish people in order to justify continued human rights abuses against the Palestinians today. They're talking about my ancestors, right? People who died in the Holocaust, and they're saying those people justify what we're doing right now. And I got to tell you, I take umbrage with that, right? Because nobody who died in the Holocaust, and certainly nobody who lived through the Holocaust, would want this type of treatment replicated onto another group of people. And I say replicated because the IDF actually studied the Warsaw Ghetto, right? This is linked to in my podcast. Go ahead and check out the Palestine Pod, PalestinePod.com. All of our sources are uploaded there. They studied the Warsaw Ghetto so that they could replicate the same thing in Gaza, right? The calorie counting, the embargo on goods.
The calorie counting.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, but the people of Gaza are subjected to a serious blockade, air,
I do know
land,
that.
sea. And so they are unable to get most goods.
Right.
And that includes food. The Zionists have put the people of Gaza on what they call a diet,
Right.
and they are calorie counting, so giving specifically just enough so that people will not starve to death.
What?
Yeah, man.
Wait a minute. Calorie counting?
Yeah.
Meaning they're
Google-
only allowing a certain amount of calories to cross the
Per
border
person.
How do they divvy that up?
What do you mean?
How do they make sure that this person's getting 1,000 calories? That person getting
Oh, no.
1,000 calories?
They're not interested in how it gets distributed. They're just saying they're not going to allow more food in per person than this per calorie count.
How
Right?
the fuck is this still going on in the day of information?
Well, a lot of people don't know because their propaganda effort is so vast and so entrenched in universities and business and, like they said, media. So, it's a lot of people don't know. And if people do know, then they know that it can be dangerous to say something about it, right? There are people who've lost positions. There are people who have been... Their businesses have been destroyed. Their lives have been destroyed. The work that we're doing here is dangerous work, right? And it doesn't come without consequences. And so, if you're not really prepared for that, then step aside and let the people who are.
Do you think it's changing? Do you think that the tides are shifting a bit? Or
I do think that the tides are shifting a bit. I think it's still possible to get taken down, right? It's still possible to get a position taken away from you. But I think that the overall public opinion on Palestine is shifting towards Palestinian liberation, because the more people find out about the story of Palestine and talk directly to Palestinians, the more they become exposed to something other than the media caricature, which just,
they're terrorists, they're terrorists.
Just such that even the keffiyeh itself becomes associated with terrorism. When you Google what do terrorists wear on their head, the keffiyeh comes up, right? The keffiyeh, if you know anything about Palestinian history, is for farmers. It was to keep them protected from the sun. The pattern of the keffiyeh represents the nets from the fishermen in Gaza, right? Who now, if they go past a certain 6 miles, they can get shot down and murdered by a navy that has the funding of the United States government, basically writing blank checks every year. Well, not blank, but $3.8 billion every year over 10 years. Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I don't know, man. This last news cycle that had Gaza in the center of everything.
The genocide. I think it's fair to say the genocide,
Right.
where they murdered people indiscriminately.
Right.
Children, news organizations, blew up buildings.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
centers of commerce.
The thing is that that was the time where I saw way more anger towards Israel than I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
Not only that, now we're starting to see players in Hollywood flexing. You know, you got John Legend, right?
But you also see
Seth
people.
Rogen.
So let me talk. You see, like, sorry, I didn't mean to. So Mark Ruffalo came out in support of Palestine and then had to walk it back, right? So you're seeing both. You're seeing that people are taking the position, right, that what's happening is wrong, it's genocide, and then some people are still showing the influence, right, that somebody gave them a talking to. Somebody said, hey, if you want to be in the next Marvel, you gotta say it's not a genocide and you were mistaken, right? So it's definitely, the duality is still there, right? There are people who have the courage now that it's sort of more popular, right? It's never been easier to speak out for Palestine than it is right now.
Right.
It used to be like 6 of us at a protest.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now it's thousands, and that's fantastic. And, you know, I'm certainly not knocking anybody for getting on late. Whenever you get on, we're super happy to have you. Yeah, it's just, I think you're seeing more people now that have felt this way, but were kind of too scared to speak out because they were worried about getting a call from someone like Mark Ruffalo's agent.
I think the majority of people, they only want to do what's right now. Meaning, when I say that, meaning, for example, you know, I consider myself liberal, but now that bar is being pushed further and further to the point where now I don't even know if I can consider myself that anymore. But when it comes to like liberals, they exude care for those that are downtrodden, but they only
Who are we talking about here?
Liberals. But hold on. They only want to voice their opinion on things that are currently safe to talk about.
Yeah.
So, for example, like white liberals, I don't notice, would be like, it's kind of like this, kind of like, okay, guys, what cause can I talk about right now that shows me as being a good, caring liberal that won't get me in trouble?
Yeah.
Oh, Black Lives Matter? Great, Black Lives Matter. How about Palestine? Fuck Palestine. No, I don't want to talk about
For
that.
the longest time, you could have been what was called a progressive except for Palestine. Mark Lamont Hill just wrote a book about it. And it was what is palatable, what is acceptable in public discourse, right? And for the longest time, Palestine wasn't. And so there were some of us who were talking about Palestine back when it wasn't palatable, right? And, you know, we're going to continue talking about it even after the momentum of hashtags have died down.
How does your family feel about this?
So my parents are pretty supportive of me generally.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after they like raised you to like, hey, you know, we're Jews and we support Israel.
Yeah. They're good
What are their
people.
viewpoints?
So they mostly just want me to be happy, right? And they want what's best for me. And they're not like diehard supporters of Israel. They made a point to tell me, they're like, we never donated or anything. So, you know, they just sort of like support the idea of a Jewish state, which doesn't sound bad in practice, right? In theory, but in practice, it means ethnic cleansing. It means genocide. It means, you know, murdering people, getting them out of their homes. And after they had taken you like as refugees, Jewish refugees stayed with Palestinian families, and then the families who had hosted them were kicked out of their house by those same refugees. Mm-hmm. They were made. There's nothing less Jewish than making other people refugees.
Yeah,
fam. That's the thing.
That's the thing that blows me away because, man, Jews have had a long history of interhuman politics, of sticking up for those that are the underdog, the downtrodden, especially after the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Like, Jews have always been at the forefront of protecting those that need to be protected in the remembrance of what happened to them in the Holocaust, except for Palestine.
Well, real Jews, I'll say that. Real Jews who understand the faith, understand that it's connected to social justice. And so that it's impossible to truly honor Judaism if you are a Zionist, right? Because you fundamentally believe that you are supreme. You believe that you are better, more entitled to something than somebody else. And, it's a racist ideology that is incompatible with Judaism if practiced correctly.
Why are they actively trying to get more land? Like, I know not all Israelis look at the Palestine conflict the same.
The what?
What?
You said what?
Genocide.
There you go.
The same.
Yep.
Okay? But they're not looking at it. Not all of those people look at it the same. It seems like the settlers are the ones that are very hungry and angry and very...
Let me break this down. They're all settlers, pretty much, right? There are 6% of Jews who were living in Palestine before the establishment of the Zionist state. Not to say there weren't Jews there. They definitely weren't the majority, right? It was mostly Muslims, mostly Christians. They lived together in peace, harmony. My co-host of my podcast, Lara, Gazan Girl on Instagram, she always talks about how her grandfather was a Muslim, grew up in a house with a Muslim family. On the right of him was a Jewish family. On the left of them was a Christian family. They were all Palestinians, right? They all loved each other, respected the land. And it was only when Zionism came around, right, that it started being Jews are supreme and Palestinians need to be erased. And so until Palestinians are erased completely, the Zionist project will never be complete. And so that answers your question about why they're gobbling up more land, because any presence of Palestinians, even their deserted villages, right? Like Lifta. Lifta is a village that is from 1948 when people were driven out by the Zionist terrorists, and it has, like, nobody has upkept it. It's just still living, still existing, right? All of the buildings, plants, all of that. They're demolishing that because just the artifacts, the architecture, it's reminiscent of Palestinians. It reminds people that the Zionists came there in 1948 from Europe, from wherever, from Romania, from Russia, from, Yemen, from wherever, but they came there from somewhere else. They are all settlers on that land, with the exception of the families that had been there for generations.
Well, when they want to try to eradicate all Palestinians, then what do you have to say about the Palestinian Israeli citizens?
So the people who were, the Zionists were unable to ethnically cleanse out of their neighborhoods, the people who stayed and had a ethno-state erected around them and are subjected to racism,
Sure.
subjected to second-class citizenship,
Sure.
who are beaten in the streets simply for looking Arab. Those people?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
my
what
point
about
is that are they going to eradicate those people?
I mean, they need a workforce, right? They need the Zionists, Jews, not manual labor people. So, they always need a workforce that they can exploit. And that's why they allow people to come in to the 48 territories and work sometimes, right? Because they need
How about the actual citizens, the ones that live there?
Yeah, they hire them at a cheaper rate than they would a, European Jewish employee. Yeah, 100%. Same, they have housing discrimination, school discrimination. They're harassed by the police because of their skin color.
Well, do the Zionists have any type of belief religiously for this? Is there a religious dogma to their need to control this, kind of like how the evangelical Christians believe the only way Jesus is going to come swooping down from the heavens is if all the Palestinians are gone?
So Malcolm X once said they have no basis for this ideology, not even in their own religion. He's referring to Judaism. So there's no Judaism, there's no claim in Judaism that it makes sense to eradicate other people, murder them, steal their land, right? Do not kill, do not steal. Pretty core, essential tenets of Judaism. And, some people have this sort of messianic view that the Al-Aqsa compound hides the destructed temple, and so they need to reconstruct the temple. And so that's why you've seen recently the Zionist settlers have been invading the Al-Aqsa compound with people who are, armed and people who are going on tours, and they're just trying to normalize Zionist presence in the Al-Aqsa compound because it's one of the few places in Palestine that Palestinians could seek refuge from the occupation, right? It was mostly all Palestinian. It was mostly all Muslim. Christians went there as well because it's a beautiful building and everybody's welcome, but you wouldn't find Zionists there usually. Now they're trying to normalize Zionist presence in that area because there are people who believe in this weird, like fantasy that they got to knock down the Al-Aqsa mosque and compound and rebuild some ancient temple from thousands of years ago.
Yeah, but isn't the argument that Al-Aqsa, what was there before, got torn down by the Muslims, and then Al-Aqsa replaced that, and then that the Jews want to tear that back down and bring it back?
That is the argument, and you can talk about that in the halls of like a history department in college somewhere, right? That's where that conversation is relevant. But when we're talking like public policy,
no, I get that.
No,
I just wanted to clarify if I got that right.
Look, I mean, we're now trusting documents from thousands of years ago accurately describing where things were and what it is, right? We don't know exactly what it was, but it's, there are Jews who believe that.
How much Palestinian pussy are you getting right now?
Wow, that's not a question that I'm interested in.
Come on, man, we're talking.
The answer is literally zero because most of them are Muslim and they're all waiting for marriage. You know what I mean? Like Palestinian girls are busy worrying about like liberating Palestine.
Not all Palestinian girls. Trust me, I've dated Palestinian girls. I don't even think about that shit.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm okay.
Oh, Michael Schirtzer. How much hatred have you gotten from Jewish people?
I wouldn't say from Zionists. I get a lot.
Yeah,
because they hate Jews that stand up for Palestine. They really hate it because they consider me human, right? They don't consider Palestinians human. They have no problem discounting Palestinian humanity, but they recognize that I'm a human. And so it's a problem for them that I talk about it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
What percentage of...
I get death threats all the time. Like in my DMs are cracking.
Really?
And go ahead, come for me. Honestly, it used to bother me, and then I started doing therapy, and now I eat y'all up like breakfast.
Yeah. Does it scare you at all?
No, they never pull up in person.
But does it scare you a little bit?
No. It did initially, because I was like, they kill people, and they do kill people. But the way I view it now is like, bro, if y'all don't assassinate me, I'm going to be offended.
Ha! You're succeeding if you got capped.
Yeah.
Hey,
but if they do kill me, check out the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Palestine Pod.
PalestinePod.com.
Yeah. Dude. So, like, how many Jews have you, since you've been doing this, have been, like, actually on your side?
A lot of Jews.
A lot?
So many Jews have hit me up, like, secretly and been like, yo, thank you so much for speaking about this. We wish we could say something, but, we're scared of the repercussions from our family. We're scared of the repercussions from our community. And it's like... yeah, those messages are nice, but y'all are pussy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And y'all need to speak up more because it's intolerable what's happening, right? It's crazy. And you are doing a disservice to our ancestors if you don't speak up at this time and say what is happening is wrong. And it should not be happening in the name of Judaism. It certainly shouldn't be happening in the name of the Holocaust. This is something that Jews must do.
Yeah, I think anybody who is of any type of creed that sees their side fucking up, it's very important for other people to hear from those people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, I think, how a lot of us are very hungry for more cops to come out and start really calling out other cops.
Bro, anytime a cop calls out other cops, they get fired. Something happens to their brakes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a sustainable industry to be a whistleblower in.
Yeah.
If you Google LASD gangs, you can learn more about the various gangs that exist within the sheriff's department in Los Angeles. They are murdering people for sport and then getting tattoos to commemorate, celebrate. They go out for drinks. That happened to Andres Guardado, right? That happens to a lot of people in Los Angeles County.
Do you really believe that all cops are bastards? All cops are bad?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because they're joining an organization that upholds white supremacy. It upholds slavery. There's no way you can book somebody for anything really, send them into the so-called justice system and then go home and have a clean conscience. And even if you've never pulled the trigger on someone yourself or abused your power or whatever, you have covered for somebody who did, because if you didn't cover for them, they'd beat your ass or they would freeze you with no backup.
Don't you think it's I don't think it helps to be going around saying all cops are bad or all cops are bastards, because there are cops out there that are not bad. And I just think that kind of like alienates those good cops.
I don't think it helps to go around murdering people.
Yeah, but now cops are not just out there murdering people.
But they really are if you look at the statistics.
Some are.
They are murdering people. And even if they're not murdering...
When I look at the statistics, man, I see actual, like, a lot of it was, like, either justified or
no.
A lot of it is you know, I mean, like, listen, being a cop is hard, man. I have friends that are cops. They love their fucking job. Look, bro, they love patrolling their neighborhoods. They love taking care of their people.
I trained jujitsu with cops, so I know cops, right? I once, during the uprisings, I was talking with a cop at jujitsu. I was like, I've been protesting. What have you been doing? He's like, I've been doing riot control. I was like, damn, that's crazy. He said, yeah, if I saw you out there, I'd shoot you too. He said that we're like, I thought we were friends. You know what I mean? So every time I'm in jiu-jitsu now, I hold on to their necks a little bit extra. You know what I mean? For justice.
I don't know, man.
But here's the thing.
I just don't think that it's that clear cut. I think I just think it's, I don't know. I just think it doesn't help to be like all cops are bad. To me, that's almost the same way as being like all Palestinians are bad.
No, so here, let me tell you why that's not the same at all. Because the power dynamics are completely different, right? Cops have power over the civilian population. Palestinians have absolutely no power whatsoever. They are being victimized by a more powerful group of people.
A police state.
A police state, right? Whether it's the Palestinian Authority or the Israeli apartheid state itself, right? So in the situation, it would be more analogous to have like Israelis as the police.
I understand that connection that you're making. Yeah, of course, it's apples and oranges in that respect. I'm talking about just the way of just saying all this is bad. I think for me defeats a lot, because I think it's more nuanced than that.
I understand.
You know what I'm talking about?
I understand where you want to say that it's more nuanced than that, but it's actually quite simple. Right, they are descendants of slave catchers.
Who is the descendants of slave catchers?
All police.
All police.
Yes, police as an institution come from slave catchers.
If I became a cop, now I'm a descendant of police catchers. So
of a slave catcher.
Slave catcher. So I'm.
So if hold on one sec.
So do we need cops?
So hold on. Let me lay this out completely for you.
Okay.
According to the 13th Amendment, right, slavery is illegal except for the use as punishment, right, for people who've been convicted as a crime.
Right. We can use prisoners as slaves.
So what they did is they said, "Oh, okay, y'all want to be free? Fantastic. No worries. We'll construct a police state to keep you locked up anyways." Right? So people who should be free, right, are locked up. Half the prison population is locked up on some bullshit nonviolent drug offense. You know what I mean?
I don't know about half, but a lot.
It's 45%.
Is it 45?
It actually was. It might be more now. I don't know. It was 45 last time I checked.
Fuck.
So that's half the prison population, and they wanted to do that so that they could then incentivize private prisons. Right? The private prison population, or the private prison industry, is the plantation industry. Because what happens at prisons, right? They make shit.
Yeah.
They make license plates. They make uniforms for the military.
I have a friend of mine in the military who started a rope company who makes ropes, and then he just uses the
prison labor.
Yeah, prison
why
labor.
does he do that? Because it's cheaper.
Because it's cheaper.
Right, because he can pay them less.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you continue to feed people into that system, right, of slavery.
So is it the police or is it the system?
Are the police a part of the system?
I mean, the system is greater than the police.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Because the prosecutors,
you'll
those
never see a prosecutor.
judges.
You will never see a prosecutor unless you've seen the police first.
But the police are just doing their job.
So are the Nazis, bro.
Okay, but okay, hold on a second.
That's literally their argument.
So are you saying
at Nuremberg they said we're just doing our jobs?
Hold on. But that's different, man. You mean
really
hold
not.
on a second. When
A lot of them are Nazis.
When a guy in this neighborhood fucking got robbed, right? But look, we never had any crime here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cops showed up to apprehend that guy. Okay. I couldn't help but go, that's great. This is great. Here's a guy who's out
one
here.
instance of the police doing what you think that they should do does not outweigh the hundreds of years of police brutality and, discrimination.
Then what about all the cops that are good and they want to do good work and they want to serve
what about all the white people who are good? You know what I mean? Who cares? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about what?
It's like
I care.
But what I'm saying is nobody I'm not trying to get patted on the back for being a good white. You know what I mean? It's like I'm doing the bare minimum of what I should be doing. I don't think I should be commended. Cops who don't murder people should not be commended, right? It's like that's what you're not supposed to murder people. And so when
I'm not saying that we commend them.
Well, you kind of are. You're alienating the people who are doing a good job. We should be giving them positive reinforcement. That's what you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying when I see those cops coming in here doing their job, and I'm appreciative of it. Be honest,
that's fine. You can be appreciative of it. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with community safety, right? But community safety doesn't come at the barrel of a gun. Why do people commit crimes? People commit crimes because they don't have things, right? Because they're spending billions of dollars a year on police instead of on social programs, on parks.
Well, there's definitely
community building.
We definitely have a problem there.
So
or war.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you cut those things, you'd have plenty of money to address the fundamental issues that bring about crime. You'd never have crime in the first place.
Yeah, but I mean, you're always going to have crime, man.
You're really not. Look at Japan. People are accounted for.
But they're homogenized. They're the same people. They're the same people. It's not the same. I don't like that argument when people go, look at a place like Japan. They're all the same people.
Bro.
They all come.
Okay,
here,
so the natives before we came here.
We're a country of people from all walks of life. People have so many different views of how things should be.
Is crime a fundamental part of anybody's culture?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
You know what I mean?
But
it's not. Crime comes from people's realities.
I don't think Japan is a very good.
That's fine. Forget Japan. You know what I mean? What I'm talking about is the underlying conditions that bring about crime, right? We'll never address that by just adding more police, trying to legislate at the barrel of a gun, right? Throwing more people in jail. It's never going to work.
I get that. But I still think, I don't know, I just think the all cops are bad sentiment is childish.
Okay.
You know, I think
there's a lot of old people who believe it.
That's not the point. There's a lot of old people that are childish. There's a lot of old people who should know better, and they still are childish enough to think that Palestinians are fucking trash. So my point is, it has nothing to do with age. My point is that the idea of using the term "all cops are bad" is just as stupid as the term "defund the police." I think defund the police.
You said you're a liberal?
Well, listen, man, defund the police. Just because I don't agree with that doesn't mean I'm not a liberal. Defund the police, I think, is a really, really, really dumb terminology.
You know how much funding the police gets in Los Angeles every year?
How much?
$3.3 billion.
Okay.
You think that's a good amount? You think that's fair relative to how much social services programs for teenagers
and
after
that's
school
my point.
stuff
Why
get?
are we blaming the cops?
So literally, because they demand money.
Okay,
they steal money parasitically, and then they take it.
People that are in charge that are pushing that money into that
right,
direction.
But it's the police unions that influence those people to make legislation.
Okay, but a police officer doesn't have really much influence on their police union. Like I talked to a friend of mine who's a cop in Louisiana. We were in the Marines together, and anytime this type of stuff comes up, I give him a call. And I remember I was talking to him going, I don't like the fact that, you cops are not able to call each other out. And he goes, Mike, that is a state by state and precinct by precinct case. He goes, in my precinct, he goes, I'm lucky. I work in a place where we don't have a police union. So we don't have to deal with that where I'm at. He goes, where I'm at, if people fuck up, we call each other out. Okay? So that kind of enlightened me to be like, oh, okay, so I thought all of you guys had some type of a fucking union. Now, if you were a cop and you loved working your beat and you really wanted to do good and you're part of this freaking organization and yeah, you have a police union that's fucking corrupt, I mean, how do you expect a cop like that to go up against the union? He's not going to be able
That's
to.
actually my point, is that when you join that organization, you endorse all of that, even though you have no control over it. You say, I'm okay.
I still don't think that's
but
fair.
you do, because you say, I'm willing to take the money. I'm willing to take the overtime. I'm
still
willing
don't
to
think
take.
That's fair.
Well, that's fine. You asked me for my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So you say, I'm willing to take all of the good things, right, and justify all of the bad things by saying, well, I don't have control over those things. I'm just doing my job.
I get it, and I think that like I think it really screws over the cops that enjoy doing their job, for them to be lumped into this entire system that, like you said, and I agree with you, it is lopsided. We're spending way too fucking much money on this shit.
Yeah.
We can definitely put way more money into social programs or helping people. Listen, if we stopped or like just scaled back the wars 15%, we'd have enough money to take care of almost everybody, bro.
We could end world hunger if we just downsized the military by like 10%.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's my point as
But
well.
to me,
I think we agree, because
Yeah.
that is what defund the military, defund the police means. It just means take the money that
that
we are.
term is dumb.
Okay, well that's because
Dumb
that's
term.
because propaganda has gotten you to a place where you feel
No.
emotional about it.
No.
It's fine. Whatever.
When-
let me
when-
just continue real quick.
When defund the police came up, I was like, defund the police.
But what it means is take the funds that are being misallocated.
My instincts
Right.
were that. My instincts were like, okay, so what you're saying is that, yeah, let's stop putting so much money into militarizing the police and giving them so much fucking power,
Yeah.
and let's scale that stuff down a little bit. And maybe alleviate their work. Maybe stop making them be the psychiatrist, the
Right.
fucking the
Have
guy that
social-
has to negotiate and all this fucking shit.
100%.
And alleviate their fucking stress of their fucking job, because right now cops are like expected to do way too fucking much, man.
So now you've articulated the strategy for defund the police.
I get, but the term is so stupid.
Okay, well you're having
It's
what you're talking about is a
so
branding
dumb,
issue, and I'm
man.
super uninterested in your.
But
like,
I think a branding issue is very, 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 very.
But that's not what's
important.
stopping the legislation, right? The branding is not the problem. The problem is that there are police unions who are intimidating lawmakers to continue to pass funding that disproportionately funds the police and takes money out of communities. And those cops don't even live in these communities, so they're not paying taxes to the city, right? They're taking money from Los Angeles city taxpayers and going out to like Santa Fe and San Bernardino and fucking, all over the place where their kids enjoy nice social programs, right? Schools, things like that, because they know, right, that's important. They know that will dictate the person's development, their opportunities later in life. They know that, right? That's why they live there in those nice communities with those nice social programs. But they are extracting resources from communities that need those social programs. Because otherwise, with the lack of social programs, with the lack of schooling, with the lack of parks, green spaces, what you will find is a proliferation of crime.
Don't you think that like utilizing the term "all cops are bad" will alienate?
First of all,
a
I've
lot
never.
people?
That's not the phrase. It's all cops are bastards. Just for recommendation.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Bad.
Well, just to be correct.
So all cops are bastards, so they don't have dads.
I don't think it's
I think
actually
a lot of them
like,
have dads.
I don't. Well, who knows? You know what I mean? They've got.
I think a good portion of them have dads, bro.
My point is that they were unwed when they had said.
Can we get the stats, please?
No, but they do beat their wives a lot. Anyways, what I was gonna say is that that just means that they're bastards in the sense of like they're bad people. Like they're not good-hearted because they're a part of an organization, even if tangentially they are a part of an organization that continues to uphold modern slavery and actively discriminates against people of color. You were in the military. It's so interesting to me because you're from Yemen, right?
Yeah.
You were born here?
Yeah.
And so you served in the United States military.
Yeah.
How did that impact you? Where did you go?
I didn't go anywhere. I was in the Clinton administration.
Oh, got you.
The most dangerous thing I saw was a hurricane.
Okay, got you.
And
did you see a lot of waste in your time in the military? Like
waste? In
like
what way?
the military spending too much money, having toys they don't really need.
I was too young to really fucking pay attention or care, man. When I was in the military, I was really stupid.
Okay.
One thing in that respect that I did notice is that because we weren't going to war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every year we would have to use up all our ammo
Yeah.
so that we can get
Justify for the next year.
the next year. So
Exactly.
they would take us out to the desert and we would just shoot rockets at the side of a fucking mountain.
That's a perfect example of
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say right now.
Absolutely.
So we could put an end to that, right? Just have a decent amount of ammo that is used in the event that it needs to be used, hopefully not, and spend the money that you spent blowing up the side of a mountain on infrastructure.
Dude.
Right? We don't have to have potholes the size of fucking craters.
The way the government is just set up, it's a fucking clusterfuck, bro. Government in and of itself is really fucked. I had a job at Wayne County, Michigan, where it was my first government job after the military.
Yeah.
And I was like they hired me to be the in-house video producer because I used to do video production. And when I worked there, bro,
he says as he's doing video production on a podcast.
and
Mitch Hedberg. I used to, but I still do.
So I was like working on this place, man, and I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I remember I got my first assignment from a department. They were like, "Can we do a video for this?" Blah blah blah. Cool. And I got them a rough cut by lunchtime. Okay. Now, the next day, this is day 3 at my job. I come into my office and my boss is at my desk.
Yikes.
Walk in there and he's like, "Hey, Mike, can I talk to you for a second?" And I was like, "Is everything okay?" He's like, "No, man, everything is great. Let's just talk in my office." Closes the door, sits down. He goes, "Mike, I know that you're a Marine and I know you're a professional video producer and I know you're really, really used to doing things on time and getting it done quick. I'm just letting you know right now, you're pissing off a lot of people here." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Mike, this is a government job and I hate to say this, but you need to slow it down."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Slow it down by how much?" He goes, "By as long as you want to."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Mike, just please slow it down because if you push it too fast, it's going to piss off people because people here don't want to work that much. That's why they get these government jobs." So then I was blown away. Then I got the next assignment and they were like, "When can you give me a rough cut by?" I could have got to them by lunch and that phone call, I was like, "Can I get it to you in 2 weeks?" They're like, "That's great." So I got it done at lunchtime, and for 2 weeks I fucked around and I created a web series that ended up getting me work on TV later. But my point is that that's wasteful, man. That's fucking wasteful, and that's government, man.
Yes.
On all accounts almost.
That doesn't even account for contractors to the government, right?
I was a contractor.
But there are additional contractors. I'm talking like mercenaries.
And I charged them way too much.
Right. People who charge an elevated rate. And so we could cut down on a lot of that, right? And fix the country if we wanted to.
Well, that's a conservative. It's
definitely cutting the military is not a conservative talk.
Well, no, cutting government is.
Yeah, cutting government, cutting the military, cutting police budgets.
Cutting the military is conservative.
Depends on what conservative, man.
I think there's a difference between conservative.
Court.
There's conservative and there's Republican.
Honestly, you know, the terms
like a core conservative, like a libertarian conservative would be like, "No, we just need to cut back the military, cut it all back, get the fucking government, just make it less."
I mean, the
wasteful.
same people who are crying right now that we've pulled out of Afghanistan, the people who are like, "We should have done more."
Libertarians?
There are all types of Republicans, libertarians,
Republicans, but the libertarians I listen to, they're like, "Hey, man, we should have done this a long time ago."
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I think we should have done it a long time. Fuck, we shouldn't have went in there in the fucking first place, bro.
There at all.
I mean, we went to fucking Iraq. What the fuck were we doing in Iraq, bro? What the fuck were we doing there?
They wanted to go ahead and control that area
and that
because
oil.
They wanted to further destabilize the region and empower their ally and military base, Israel.
Listen,
right? In pursuit of a greater Israel. That's why Israel is occupying 1/3 of Syria right now, right? Like all of the Golan Heights has already been appropriated.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's continuing to grow. Like to your point earlier, they're gobbling up more land. And it's not just going to stop with Palestinian land, right? People think that like, that's why it's so important to speak up for Palestinians because they're not the last victims, right? They're just the first.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you didn't say anything when they came for Palestinians, man, once they start taking over all of Syria, once they start taking over all of Iran, you know, it's like, what are you going to do then?
I personally think it's hopeless. I really do.
That's how I like to wake up every morning.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying this in terms of like, you know, this pandemic, it really highlighted how scared a lot of people are and how these scared people just want to say the right thing to keep everything status quo. Just so long as it's not happening in front of me, I don't give a shit where it happens around the fucking world. And it's kind of sad. And it's even to see how people have, like, people that I know have now, like, gone against everything that I thought they would stand for just for the sake of looking good in the tribe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. I've lost the respect for a lot of people who I used to look up to.
Me too, man.
People have really exposed themselves. A ton of people basically just stopped doing mutual aid entirely and during the pandemic.
Mutual aid?
Yeah, so like doing like free food drives, providing, warm clothes to the houseless population in like winter terrains and stuff like that. Basically just looking out for the houseless.
Houseless or homeless? What's the difference?
The term houseless is a more compassionate term because any structure that they built, they can consider a home, right? A home is wherever you make it. But a house, I know, it's kind of cute, actually.
It's so stupid.
It's kind of cute.
It really is.
Anyways, you could say homeless, houseless. It doesn't bother me. It's whatever.
But some people be getting offended when you say homeless now.
Some people will. Some people get offended at a lot of stuff.
Some of the shit that doesn't matter, bro.
Yeah. I prefer to like address the bigger issues than to like squabble over the terminology of houseless or homeless.
Yeah. Fuck, bro. I don't know, man. To me, I'm just like, I don't know. Like the more I feel like things are gonna work out, the more I start paying attention, and then the more I start looking around me, I realize there's a lot of people I know that deep down they want to speak up.
Yeah.
But they are now shamed into not. So like the shame that you get as a Jew speaking for Palestinians.
None.
No. But what I'm saying is, and not for you. I'm talking about as a whole. Jewish people that shame that they have like been bestowed on them. Like right now, most Jewish people don't want to speak up for the Palestinians, even if they want to, because they're afraid of being ostracized.
Okay, I understand.
That's what I'm talking
Got you.
about.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see that happening in other groups.
Yeah.
Liberals, Democrats, and the Republicans and the conservatives. Now everyone is starting to go into their silos, and everyone's like, hey, are you on this team?
Yeah.
Well, you better be all cops are bad, or you better be you better say houseless instead of homeless, and it's fucking getting out of control. And when I see those things happening within these little silos, it shows me how they're doing it to the Palestinians. It's almost the same type of fucking brainwashing, and it's a
It's a divide and conquer strategy, right?
And through the lens of shame.
Yeah. 100%. And the more rigid people are in their boundaries, like the more they close themselves off from other people, the more disconnected we will feel as a society. But the more we embrace unity, the more we don't squabble over the petty ideas and work towards a common goal, then the closer we are towards a positive collective.
Do you think like the stuff that was TikTok and Instagram and all these videos that were Palestinians were using these platforms to show the world what they were going through, do you think that really, really helped?
100%.
This last go around?
It was like, imagine if Anne Frank could live stream what had happened instead of writing it into a diary, right? There was literally a video from a Palestinian girl in her closet. You know what I'm saying? It showed people clear as day what is happening. There's no media spin. Oh, these terrorists. There's no characterization of Palestinians as evil. There's no overhyping of some type of religious conflict that doesn't exist. It's simply there are armed terrorists outside my door. I'm scared, and they're busting in and rounding people up, right? Anybody can relate to that. And so, especially when Jacob the Settler was like, if I don't steal your house, somebody else is going to steal your house.
What a piece of shit.
And then they have the balls to be like, he's indigenous. You know what I mean?
He's from New York.
How could you look at that dude and be like, that guy's indigenous to Palestine? You've got to be crazy, right? And so they're not based in any fact. And that's why it's so easy to argue against them, even though I don't like to argue with them anymore because it normalizes their position. I don't even like addressing them, right? Palestinian humanity is not up for debate. Palestinians are owed the land that was theirs, the houses that they still have the keys and the land deed for. It's theirs.
Do you think like Anne Frank and the Holocaust got the attention that it deserved in the world stage more than other people like the Palestinians? Do you think it has something to do with skin color?
Yeah, I think it has to do with us imagining the victims as white, right? Even though obviously the Nazis did not view Jews as white people. That's why they put them in concentration camps with black people, with what they called gypsies, who were Romas. Gypsies is obviously a derogatory term that you're not supposed to use. But that's what the Nazis called them, right?
Is gypsy a derogatory term?
Yeah.
I know gypped is a
Gypsy in general is a derogatory term.
I didn't know gypsy was,
Yeah.
because I met gypsies and they said I'm a gypsy.
I mean, it's sort of like where some Native Americans will be like, I'm
Indian.
right?
Yeah.
Sure. They could
I
say
didn't
it,
know that.
but it's offensive for anybody outside the community. Like, I don't like when people are like, oh, you're a Jew, and they're not Jewish. You know what I mean? Just the way that people say Jew, it doesn't sit right with me if you're not Jewish.
Yeah.
So I would prefer people be like, oh, he's Jewish.
Jewish, right.
Right. But if they're like, that Jew, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, my guy? You know, like just something about it.
I've said it in this thing, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're friends, and so I don't feel any malice. But just as a general rule, I've had interactions with people where it's like I don't know them, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you were a Jew. And it's like, yeah, I'm Jewish.
So Jew is derogatory?
Not that it is always, but it has the potential to be.
Sure.
Right? And so if it's anybody from outside of the tribe, right? If you're not Jewish and you say it, it can feel derogatory.
Let me ask you this. So on a previous podcast, I brought this thing up. When you might have known this story. You want another one?
I mean, sure,
I got a regular margarita
right now.
It's ready to go.
I can wait. We can wait till the end of the pod.
No, fuck that. I want one now.
Go ahead.
Well,
brother.
hold on a second. I'm going to ask you this question, and then maybe you can like address it while I get the
sounds good.
The drinks.
Quality service here at the Public Yemeni No.1
Hey man,
podcast.
Arab hospitality, baby.
For real though. For real.
Yeah, bro.
A Jew would have been like, "What'd you bring?" No, I'm just
no come on,
I'm
man.
just kidding.
I've been
into
into Jewish
it's a little
homes,
joke.
man.
We're very hospitable people.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It was a little joke.
Yeah. A little joke. So I remember seeing this article that I read, and it's a very interesting thing. Okay, I'm gonna and then I'm gonna try to get the drinks. But so there was this Holocaust survivor woman, older woman, who started a TikTok. I believe it was a TikTok where she opened up questions about the Holocaust. So she wanted to teach people about her experience in the Holocaust and so on and so forth. And then people like, of course, and you know, it makes me feel so bad for her because like she got a lot of anti-Semitic, you know, so like
on the internet. Can you believe that?
No, I know.
Not the internet.
No,
being
I
anti-Semitic.
know. Okay?
TikTok? Not TikTok.
Right. But the one thing that pissed me the fuck off, and I want you to break this down, okay?
And it wasn't the anti-Semitism. No.
And in the article, it listed the derogatory things that people were saying to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the K word, right?
Mm-hmm. Karen.
Burn Jew, burn, that type of fucking crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And then one of them was Free Palestine. Mm. And the article was like, Free Palestine was a derogatory term.
I would love to address that, actually.
Address it, please. I'm going to give her a drink. I just really want to know, like, what.
Yeah. So there are sometimes Zionist accounts who will create troll accounts and comment things like Free Palestine on Jewish creators' videos so that those Jewish creators can then make videos about how it's anti-Semitic to comment Free Palestine on their videos that have nothing. I'm 100%. It's an operation. It is a media operation. Sure, you can Google Hasbara. You know what I mean? Google Hasbara. It is an organization that pays people, right, to spread misinformation about the occupation and to plant media stories, to manufacture comments, interactions. And what they do is they will take a high-profile Zionist TikToker, right? They're doing a video about, you know, whatever, coffee, and they'll create a fake account and they'll be like Free Palestine. And then that TikToker will isolate that comment and make an entirely new video being like, it is extremely anti-Semitic to comment Free Palestine on a Jewish creators page that's not mentioning the conflict. They always say the conflict. And so, look, bro, are there Palestinians who hold anti-Semitic beliefs?
Sure.
Sure. Of course.
Sure.
You ever been colonized by some? You know what I mean? It's like you might be upset. That said, the overwhelming majority of Palestinians and Palestinian activists and Palestinian spaces where I've been personally, I've never encountered any sort of anti-Semitic sentiment, and anything that's even like tangentially anti-Semitic has been squashed immediately, to the point where they're like, no, you're not even going to finish speaking because we don't like where it's going. Like, this has nothing to do with Jews. This is about Zionists. I've seen that happen.
I think it's very offensive.
Yeah.
It's offensive to be able to say, oh, here are these offensive things that the people were saying to this lady. And the ones that were other than Free Palestine really were offensive.
Right.
And it hurt me. I looked at that and I was like, oh, man, come on. I felt bad for her, right? And then I saw Free Palestine. I'm like, what?
Yeah. But it's anti.
You're trying to fucking now, like, and of course, the writer of the article was a Jewish guy.
So look, that's what I'm saying. As the media person in that clip said, they're able to generate media so that they can make it seem and manufacture events to, portray the Palestinian liberation movement in an anti-Semitic light. And they have a multi-billion-dollar digital strategy campaign trying to do that. But it's ineffective, right? Because any Palestinian you speak to is like, no, we don't have a problem with Jews. We hate Zionists.
I spoke to a Jewish comic not too long ago, and we were talking about that. And he used that. He was like, oh, they say like derogatory terms, like, and then they'd be like Free Palestine. Like, whoa.
Who was it? Name names.
I'm not
no,
naming names.
I
was like,
I know.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I said, Free Palestine?
Yeah.
And I looked him straight to his face, and I was like, fuck yeah, Free Palestine.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, but I'm like, what? Like, that's a bad thing to free the Palestinians? And then he said, no, Mike, it's not bad to free the Palestinians. He goes, it's bad to use that in a way to try to hurt people. And I'm like, how does that hurt people?
Yeah.
I'm just like, what kind of brainwashing are you exposed to and that you're trying to expose me to?
You ever seen the meme of the girl who's like...
Yes, exactly. Like,
That's how I feel right now. Anytime I hear Zionist logic, I'm like, nah, it's not for me. I haven't done the warm-ups that my brain needs for backflips. Like
I
that.
I don't have the mental gymnastics to be able to do that shit, bro.
Y'all get bronze. You know what I mean? Or something.
That's hilarious.
But really quick, let me say something
Sure,
about
sure,
that, actually.
sure, I'm
'cause
sorry.
It's an interesting point. There was a video by a Yemeni creator, actually, where he went to a Jewish deli, basically, and he was like, can you read this? And it was a thing that said Free Palestine.
I saw this.
Big kerfuffle online, right? And that, in and of itself, like that action, it can be construed as anti-Semitic. It is anti-Semitic because he's assuming that all Jews support the state of Israel.
Exactly.
Right? But that's the exact same thing that Zionists do as well, where they're like, all Jews must support the state of Israel, or you're not a real Jew.
Yes.
You're a self-hating
Yes.
Jew. So guess who's winning in the anti-Semitic Olympics still?
Yes.
It's them.
That's very. I'm glad that you brought that video up. I forgot about that because I remember when I saw that video, even me as an Arab and a Yemeni, I was just like, really, bro?
Yeah, it was a tough look.
It was like, I see what you're trying to do, bro, but it's kind of like.
Can I tell you my theory about this?
Sure.
This is unsubstantiated. I don't know it for sure, but I know that the Zionists approach high-profile accounts for sure. That's confirmed. They do like pre-made videos or pre-made video ideas. They pitch that, sign them a contract, pay them a certain amount of money. That is all confirmed. What I believe is that it was during a time when sort of Palestinian liberation was popping off and people were being exposed to, Ghassan Kanafani and like other Palestinian liberation ideology. And so they really needed to do something to halt the progress, to slow down the message. And so they in my opinion, no substantiating evidence of this. This is my conspiracy theory. The Zionists approached that Yemeni creator and said, hey, can you do a video like this, right? because he's not even Palestinian. He's not Palestinian. He's Yemeni, but he managed to like somehow bring down and malign the Palestinian liberation movement, right? Because after that video did numbers, you know what I mean? Jews all over started crying. They're like, look at what is happening with the, you know what I mean? So it's like he gave them fodder. And, you know, maybe he did it on his own. Maybe he just...
I think he did it on his own.
You don't... Like, it's possible that he did it on his own.
I think he did it on his own.
Look, maybe
because
he did.
to me, seeing him do that video,
yeah,
I could see a younger me thinking that that's the approach. Look, I'm gonna show the world how Jewish people cannot say free Palestine.
Maybe so, but we should address the fact that the Zionists do pay people to post videos, and they even make the videos for them beforehand and then shop it out. They farm out videos that are pre-made and then have them posted from accounts.
These are real?
Yeah, 100%. This was actually documented in The Lobby, which is a documentary about the Israeli lobby, how they will take meme accounts, cat pages, things like that, feminist pages, and they'll farm content to those pages so that there's no trace coming back to the Israeli lobby.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like, to think that... Okay, so for example, in Palestinian circles, pro-Palestinian circles, and I'm bringing this up because, you know, you're claiming that you're a victim of this. There are a lot of talk about how the powers that be are silencing voices like you, like jamming a Zoom call, or I remember I was on Clubhouse listening to like Palestinians like talk, and then like the room would get shut down.
Yep.
Or then they would create another Palestinian Palestine and Israel peace room, but it was actually run by Zionists.
100%. There's a ton of censorship that's going on. Palestinians are being the most censored of.
Then how do they get companies like TikTok that's based in China, or Zoom, or all of these things to conform to this?
So what happens is the government of Israel has actually reached an agreement with the company TikTok to basically survey any content that they deem anti-Semitic and then eradicate it from the platform. For Facebook and its subsidiary Instagram, they have what's called an individual, or like a something oversight committee board, and it's one of the heads of the board is a Zionist lawyer. So they have people directly there infiltrated into many of the companies. And then they also set up what was called like a fusion center, specifically during the genocide, where they had people who speak Hebrew and people who speak Arabic so that they could monitor content in real time.
My buddy, who's watching live right now, old buddy from the Marine Corps, just posted, and I put it on the screen. He said, seriously, my computer has crashed twice during this podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've been kicked off Zoom 11 times. Can you tell me
the numbers on this? The views have gone up and then drastically, like a bunch of them will go down and then a bunch of them will come back up.
My videos get deleted all the time. Every time I open Instagram, the way Instagram says hello to me is it tells me that my account may be deleted.
Let's play this one video of you on Zoom.
Let's talk about how TikTok.
Oh no, that's not the one. Sorry.
That's actually a good one because it talks about censorship, but
no, this one here. Oh, well, we'll talk about that one. But here's one that's an example.
What we're seeing right now is a return to the past, actually, because Jewish people were excluded from public life in 1935 when the Nuremberg Law.
Yeah, I tried to say a lot of the same facts that I said on this podcast about the similarities between Nazis.
Did Michael freeze for you? Yeah, you know, so Zoom has been censoring us. Facebook has been censoring us. Yeah. We've been getting censored everywhere. Anytime we try to do anything on technology, it just doesn't work. Are you being censored كمان على الانستغرام؟
كتير بس لا قد ما في تفاعل الحمد لله عم نهاجم السنسور لأنه الكل عم بيجي فمنيح.
He's saying no.
Yeah, because so what I have witnessed has been absolutely incredible by the Palestinian activists on the ground.
What's happening to Afghan activists right now?
You've been censored again, Michael.
That's the fourth time I've been kicked off this Zoom.
Anytime you start to speak.
Well, then let me ask you something, though, really quick.
They are scared of your boy, and
they should be.
Because I was about to.
Let me ask you something real quick, though. How is that censorship when you're able to come back on? So let me play devil's advocate because I'm the type of person I like to be skeptical.
Yeah,
I like to stay skeptical. All cops are bad. Ugh, skeptical. Everything. I always want to try to figure out. But
you want to play devil's advocate? That's fine.
But I want to do just not to play devil's advocate, but just to get the conversation going, to think critically about something.
Happy to talk about it.
You know?
Yeah.
How is that censorship when you're able to come back on?
So it's interesting. Malcolm X was once approached by the powers that be, and he was offered $6 million. This is a story conveyed by Betty Shabazz, his wife. And it was when they needed the money, right? They were poor. $6 million would have changed their life. And Malcolm X said no, right? Because the offer was not to stop the movement entirely. It was just to slow it down. It was just
a speed bump
to take more time, right? Because you're pissing a lot of people off. And so what they do is they'll report my videos, not because they know that I've violated any of the, content agreements or anything like that, but simply because they know that they can slow down the views, right? It's going to take my time for me to appeal it, for them to review it, and then by then, they've slowed it down.
Do you really think that somebody is out there trying to jam your Zoom frequency? It's and this is not to talk down to you or whatever.
No. You should.
But
Google,
my point is that like it's
you
not.
should Google Pegasus.
It's not like I know about Pegasus, but it's not like your numbers are at that level where they need to shut you down.
Right.
Why are they not shutting down Joe Rogan when he has Abby Martin on? Abby Martin gets on Joe Rogan and she blasts Palestine, and she's an investigative journalist. She's got a lot of people following her and stuff.
100%. They can't censor everyone, and they.
But my point
it's so
is
funny
that,
because I grew from a place of zero, right? I had nobody listening to me, and now I have some people listening to me.
Yeah, like 12,000 followers on Instagram right now out of nowhere,
so,
man. Because before that, you were like,
just a regular comic, couple thousand. You know what I mean? And now I have a platform. I have people listening to me. I have over 20,000 on TikTok, and it's because, right, I've been passionate about this cause, and they've tried to slow me down.
And you're Jewish.
Yes, and I'm Jewish, and they've tried to censor me. A lot of my videos that have popped off have been me describing the censorship, right? Showing the censorship, showing my videos being deleted, showing the unfairness of the appeals process, showing the fact that, Zionists can make wild claims and murder and, pillage, and they can show the footage of that, but when we try and report on it, somehow we get violated. Somehow it violates the terms of service. Somehow our accounts are the ones that gets nuked.
I have to admit, man, I'm not saying that stuff is not happening.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But to me, it's just part of me goes,
are you familiar with Unit 8?
Is somebody really there watching you and going, oh, he's talking about this, I'm going to pause his feed? You don't think maybe your Wi-Fi sucks maybe?
Well, I mean, that's how I felt.
Maybe you should plug in landline, plug in the fucking cable instead.
Anytime a joke didn't land on those Zoom shows, I was like, it's got to be the Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? It couldn't be my material. There's no chance.
Yeah.
I've never written a bad joke. I've seen audiences not appreciate good comedy, though.
They're all Zionists.
Yeah. That's funny. That's a good one. But no, I mean, it's possible that my Wi-Fi sucks, but it's also possible that, a organization that is known for its internet surveillance and, cyber security, so to speak, could be involved in some censorship, right? If you Google Pegasus, it showed that Israel and its counterparts, pretty much anybody who has enough money to access this system, can access the cell phones of diplomats, journalists,
Jeff Bezos,
anybody. You know what I mean? So I would be surprised if I'm not on that list. But, who knows? I like to flatter myself.
Yeah.
But frankly, from the attention that I've got from like high profile Zionists, you know what I mean? Like I sent you that interaction I had with that Zionist influencer who's like, I have friends who are in the cybersecurity unit 8200.
Was that last one that you sent me?
Yeah, it's the one they froze on Instagram.
Well, let's talk about that. So Michael Schirtzer here, I asked him, I was like, give me a bunch of videos that I can queue up for the podcast. And he gave me a bunch of them. And then one of them, I clicked on it and it was just the thumbnail.
Right.
It had the audio thing, meaning that it's supposed to be a video, but it was only a freeze frame of a picture. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just on my computer. So I went on my phone, same thing. Then I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, what is up with this? You sent me a thumbnail of a picture and you go, no, that's supposed to be a video.
Yeah, it is a video. It was taken off TikTok originally. I got into a little spat with an Israeli influencer and they got it deleted off TikTok, and I managed to get it restored eventually. But I also posted it on Instagram, and I didn't even realize that the video wasn't playing until you sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dang, they managed to freeze this video so that it doesn't play when you access it.
I'm going to play this video.
Play it, please.
So this is the one that was frozen.
Yeah.
This is the one that somehow somebody just...
Look, I'd
the
never...
thumbnail is still there, but the video doesn't play right now.
I had never encountered that before. So when it happened, when Mike sent it to me, I was like, oh, damn, that's new. That's kind of crazy. But, I'm always learning about new ways of censorship and new, just because it's happening to me.
So let's watch this. I'm gonna share the screen right now, guys.
Go ahead.
This is not queued up. Actually, I have it. I'm playing this straight off of... how come it's not... There we go.
Oh, is it not working?
No. I didn't have time to download it.
I know. It was just a little joke about the Zionists.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to play this video. Where did you find it?
What do you mean, the video?
So, yeah, because you said you didn't have it on your hard drive.
Oh, no. I found it on TikTok. It's still on TikTok. It managed to get it restored.
Oh, yeah?
So, like, what'll happen is they'll report my videos, get it so that it gets taken down for a few days. I have to appeal it. That also takes a few days. Then a few days later, once it's been forgotten by the algorithm, they put it back up. It gets 600 views. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, let's play this video, and I want to try to wrap my mind around why they wouldn't want to get rid of this.
Who could imagine why?
Yeah. All right, it's loading up right now.
All right, first things first, why didn't you tag me, you coward? This is you saying that it's a cyber intelligence unit not filled with spies. Menz is so dumb he doesn't even know what spy work is. People who actually live here and know their reality. I bet. Let's ask some whistleblowers from the unit.
All Palestinians are exposed to non-stop monitoring without any legal protection. Any information that might enable extortion of an individual is considered relevant information. Whether said individual is of a certain sexual orientation, is cheating on his wife, or is in need of treatment in Israel or the West Bank, he is a target for...
Alright, first things first, why didn't you tag me, you cat?
Okay, so can you please explain that? Because that video is still kind of confusing.
Yeah, so the person made a video about me. They took some of my content and then they didn't tag me, which is kind of a bitch move online, right? Because I don't even know you made a video about me until someone sent it to me.
Right.
Anyways... He made a video about my content basically saying, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't live there. I shouldn't be speaking because he lives there. He grew up there. He has friends who do this type of work, intelligence, even though that he doesn't understand that to be spy work. I was like, Unit 8200 is a cyber intelligence unit that spies on people. That's what I said in the video. And he was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And so I was like, all right, cool. Here is a video of a whistleblower from that unit talking about what I'm talking about.
And that's that guy reading the book?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So the voice you hear at the end is
the actual
whistleblower
from
the unit.
From that unit.
Yeah.
And then that got taken down.
That got frozen on Instagram and then taken off of TikTok completely until I appealed it.
Very interesting.
Hey, but it could be a coincidence. You know what I mean? It could be.
I don't know. Like the fact that it was like...
Who knows?
The fact that it happened on TikTok and on Instagram... To me, what's funny is that out of all the videos that they could take down, that was the one that was the most confusing. That was the one that was harder to follow.
They take down a lot of my videos. The way I post videos is sort of like the way missiles come out of Gaza, where it's like some of them are going to get shot down. You know what I mean?
Most of them are going to get shot down. The fuck Iron Dome motherfuckers.
Yeah.
What's this video that you sent me about the UK spy?
Okay, so you might have heard that Jeremy Corbyn was purged from the Labour Party of the UK government.
I don't know who that is.
Jeremy Corbyn was the former head of the Labour Party.
Is the Labour Party the Liberals?
Yeah. And so he was accused of anti-Semitism. He was brought down.
He was accused of why?
I'm not exactly sure. I forget what the exact accusations were. But ultimately, it was revealed that it was a Zionist plot to get him out of the party and install people who were friendly to Zionism.
I'm going to play this video.
Sure. Real quickly, though, the backstory is they got rid of Jeremy Corbyn on some anti-Semitic charge, and then they hired a former spy from the unit that I was just talking about, 8200, to be like a social media director type person inside of the Labour Party. Go ahead.
Talk about how the UK Labour Party has just hired a former Israeli spy. This is the same Labour Party who supposedly just purged their former leader because of anti-Semitism, even though Jews across the world have said that this is a ridiculous campaign led by the Israeli lobby, as well as the Board of Deputies, BICOM, Jewish Chronicle, and Community Security Trust. This former spy was a part of a unit 8200, the cyber warfare branch. You've probably encountered them if you've ever even thought the words Free Palestine. Specialize in spying, hacking, encryption, mass surveillance, and systemic discrimination against Palestinians. According to whistleblowers from the unit, any information that might be enabled to extort an individual is... People are targeted for blackmail, subject to physical injury. When it feels like nobody's listening, remember they are. I love how they put that tag about 6 years, like, yeah, they've been around for a while. Let's talk about how TikTok and Zionists are censoring Palestinian voices.
I want to play this
Yesterday I uploaded this video in full.
So it's a video of like Israeli
a literal
soldiers.
Power struggle.
Israeli soldiers are like, beating up
Almost
Palestinians.
Immediately this happened. My video was taken down and my appeal not considered. Here's information on the event and a place where you can still watch the video on Instagram. It's a pretty nifty system that they've got for themselves, where the Zionists murder people, and then when we try and raise awareness about it online, they report the video for violence. Not only in yesterday with the literal struggle over power, but in many videos, many Palestinian activists go through this where they have their videos deleted and there's no good reason why. Except for TikTok and Israel struck a deal to discard any information that goes against their system. We really don't ask for much, but if you murder someone, we should be able to report it.
Amen. Damn, bro.
Yeah, so that's the work I've been doing the last couple of years. It started basically in like January, February of 2020, where I just got online and started talking shit to Zionists. I was like, y'all are stupid. You know what I mean? Your logic makes no sense. You have no basis in fact or history or law, and I would just roast them. And then I got tired of interacting with them. They're exhausting people. They just try and suck the energy out of you. They're low-key dementors. And so I started fundraising for causes, right, in like January 2021 maybe. Started fundraising for Gaza, before this latest assault even. Started fundraising for farm supplies in Ramallah. Started fundraising for Yemen as well. Just various places where I felt like attention wasn't being paid. And so, that's what I've been doing with the platform this past year. About March, maybe, 2021, my friend Lara, who's now my friend, didn't really know her at the time. We were just sort of like fans of each other's work online. We followed each other on Instagram. She's a great legal scholar and a legal mind. And so she reached out to me and she just was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And it's funny because I had wanted to do a podcast for the longest time, but I just didn't want it to be like two white guys talking about nothing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of those podcasts. No shade to my friends who have those podcasts. And so when she hit me up, I was like, perfect. And we just sort of meshed, and we've been doing the podcast ever since.
I've been listening to the podcast every now and then, man. It's pretty good.
It's good. We've gotten over 40K downloads, #1 in multiple countries. We've interviewed Mandela's grandson as well as Anwar Hadid. We've been doing numbers.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
because it's just a great podcast to have. You got a Palestinian and a Jewish, person together.
Yeah.
It's intriguing already just with that.
It's a good pitch.
The fact that you have, because you don't see that many Jewish people, especially, Jewish Americans being very vocal about this.
Yeah.
If I do hear it, it's in hush hush.
Yeah. It's always behind closed doors. It's always like modified or like, qualified. It's never all of Palestine belongs to Palestinians, period. That's how I feel.
How do you believe people like, I had Amr Zahar on my
love
program.
him, big fan.
Yeah.
He was on our podcast, episode 3. Shout it out. Akhiduhe Mafrusha.
and he told me, I asked him, I was like, what do you want? He doesn't really care what state it is. To him, it's like, it's not like, so, you have those, some of those people that are like, I'm sure that there's people out there that are like not rational, where they're like, no, we need it all back. All the people that there right now need to leave. They need to get the fuck out of there and whatever. Whereas Amr is just like, no, we just want you to stop hurting Palestinians. We want you to stop stealing land.
Yeah.
We want you to stop treating us like, animals. And
I want to go ahead and say that I'm not the person who is fit to be speaking on what Palestinians need or want, right? There are Palestinians on the ground who vocalize that very clearly. Muhammad al-Kurd is one, you know what I mean?
What does he vocalize?
He wants to live freely. He wants to not be subjected to random checkpoints. He wants to not be ethnically cleansed from his house. He wants to...
And he doesn't want to, like, take all of Israel back or
I don't know. He's a fierce liberator, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is for all land back, right? But that's not...
Is that even plausible?
Let's talk about that. That's not an unreasonable thing to ask for, right? Because what you're saying about that, the question is basically like, oh, what happens to all of the people, all of the Zionists who live there right now? And what you're asking about a stolen house is, well, what about the thief? What about the thief? You know what I mean? What about the people whose house it is?
Well, what about us? We're thieves.
Yeah, 100%.
Right now,
I believe in land back in the United States, and that's something that, like, you can't really divorce your support from Palestine for your support for Native people here. Land back doesn't mean that you and I have to pick up and leave. That's not what land back means, right? Land back means that we incorporate Native communities. We pay taxes. We pay reparations to Native communities. It's not even an unreasonable tax. It's like $145 a year or something like that. You know what I mean? It's really not the people that I just had a Native activist on our podcast. She was fantastic, Lila June. And she talks about like the various understandings of land back. And almost none of them mean like everybody's got to go, right? Mostly it just means we want to be living in peace. We don't want to be subjected to police terror. We don't want our communities to be ravaged for resources, right? Like Line 3 right now that's happening. They're building more oil, more pipelines.
Line 3?
Line 3 is it's a pipeline that's being constructed right now through native lands. And there's a lot of uproar and native people challenging the construction. And... So, yeah, you just have to be aware of those struggles as well, because it's all connected, right? 100% it's all connected. You cannot be someone who supports Palestinian liberation and then be like, actually, I'm good on land back in the U.S.
I mean, I agree. But, I mean, I think you explained that really well. That doesn't mean that we have to pick up and leave.
Yeah.
But it's just like...
look at South Africa, right? South Africa is a good example because not all of the settlers had to go, right? Okay. What happened is people got equality. People were allowed to integrate into society, to live with dignity. That's what people want, mostly. People want to live with dignity.
Amen.
Right? Because we are dignified human beings, and to be deprived of our rights is dehumanizing to both the person being deprived and the person doing the depriving.
To me, it's just crazy, man. I went to Palestine in 2018. Amr Zahar took me out there to do stand-up comedy.
Awesome.
It's fucking great. I was there for 2 weeks, I think.
Where'd you go, Ramallah?
We did shows in Bethlehem,
great,
Jerusalem, Ramallah.
Beautiful.
It was great. And, I got to see Jerusalem and Palestine and talk with the people there, and I had a really, really good, enlightening time, man. That's the thing that travel does to you, is it makes you open up and realize that every time I travel, no matter where I go, I realized I've been lied to.
Yeah.
Every fucking time. Like right now, I'm like, kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to China because I keep hearing terrible things about China, but any money, I'll travel to China and I'll have a blast in China. And then I'm just going to be like, wait a second, what the fuck was I thinking? But my point is that going to Palestine, and I remember talking to this one guy who has a boxing school there, and his goal is he wants to curate the first gold medalist boxer out of Palestine. He's also taking a crack at stand-up comedy, so he was also doing stand-up comedy with us. He was fucking cool-ass dude. We were hanging out, man, and we're sitting in Ramallah having a shawarma at his favorite shawarma place. And I remember I asked him, man, I was like, what, how do you guys feel about getting everything back and fighting and whatever? And he told me, he's like, Mike, we're done with the fucking fighting. We're done with the suicide bombing. We're done with all that. He goes, we did that for a while thinking that it was going to get the world on our side, and that's just not working. He goes, right now, the majority of us, we just want it to stop.
Yeah.
He goes, we just want it to stop. We want the blockades to stop. I just want to be able to move freely and not have to fucking be treated like a dog or like an animal.
Checkpoints. You don't want to have to be crammed into a facility for hours on end, show ID. You know what I mean?
And like as an American,
shot randomly.
I thought I was going to get a different answer. As an American, I thought I was going to get this answer and be like, fuck no, we're going to get this shit back. Fuck the way they're treating us or whatever. Almost everyone I talked to down there, they were just like, look, man, we just want to live.
That's probably the expectation that you had came from like the media portrayal of Palestinians as willing to just like be suicide bombers.
No, I think it's also from me growing up in a predominantly Arab American community in Detroit.
Okay, yeah.
And Arabs in Detroit, they're
That's
removed. They're removed from that.
Yeah.
So their view was like, fuck, God damn it, like this, that, and the other thing. But then when you're on the ground talking to Palestinians living, and living through that, they're literally like, look, man, we don't want any more bombings. We don't want to have 100%. To strap ourselves with a bomb to make a point anymore. We just want to live.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think there is sort of like Palestinians aren't a monolith, right? So there are some Palestinians who are just wanting it to all be done, right? They are willing to accept whatever. Then there are some Palestinians who are not willing to allow for anything to just happen. They'll protest. They'll, raise awareness. They will speak out. They will be active in their community. And then there are people who are like, we're still going to fight.
Yeah.
We're going to fight by any means necessary.
Yeah. In Gaza.
I mean? So there are, people often portray Palestinians as either a victim or a hero and no in between. And it's like, there are Palestinians who like to play violin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, there are Palestinians who are interested in science.
There's a Palestinian that knows how to roll the biggest spliff I've ever seen in my entire fucking life, bro.
Right. 100%.
I went there with my weed vaporizer. I got it in, and then I forgot the charger. And I was like, what the fuck? And every other comic, first, one day I was a hero. The next day, like, I didn't get the charger. Like, you're a fucking idiot. And I was like, fuck, am I ever going to get weed out here? We did the one show in Ramallah. Got off stage. This guy comes to me. He's like, bro, you were amazing. Oh, my God. I love it. You're fucking amazing. And every Palestinian wants to know if you're enjoying Palestine.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying it here? Are you enjoying it here?
So hospitable.
And then I tell them, I'm like, I'm having the time of my life. That makes them so happy.
Yeah.
Because they want other people to come in and realize, hey, man, this can be a fun place. It's like right. So I was like, yeah, I'm having a great time, man. And then he goes, hey, man, take my number down. He's like, if you need anything, you tell me. I got you, bro. That's what he told me. And I go, can you give me any weed? He's like, I pick you up later.
Nice.
So he tells me, I'm going to pick you up later. He tells me that I had to meet him outside when he pulled up. And whoever I brought had to be cool because he worked for Palestinian intelligence.
Dang.
He was like in like very high military intelligence. Yeah.
Dang.
So, and he goes, nobody can know about this. And I was like, all right, bro.
Well, it's a good thing you're mentioning it on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
No, but then this guy fucking shows up.
Yeah.
Right? Outside, he texts me. So me and two other fucking comics go out. We get in his drift car. they do drift racing in Palestine. If anybody doesn't know, they do drift racing in Palestine because there's not enough room in Palestine to do regular racing. They have to do acrobatic
by necessity
drift racing in a parking lot, you know?
Honestly, that's why it's like we ask deeper questions on the Palestine Pod. We're like, yo, why are they throwing rocks and why aren't there more professional pitchers?
And
you know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
right?
For MLB recruiters, it should be like the Dominican Republic and then the West Bank.
And the West Bank, yeah, for real. That's hilarious. But anyways, this guy shows up, man, in this drift car.
Yeah.
Boombox.
Fire.
Playing fucking music. Tinted windows. We drive off. Mike, he pulled a fucking spliff, bro. It was the size of my fucking hand.
Yeah.
And it was this fucking thick.
Yeah.
I could not fucking believe it. And then this guy had enough nerve when he gave it to me. I took a picture. I'm like, this is the fucking biggest spliff I've ever seen. He is like, Wahayat Allah, I want to put more, but I don't have any more. I was just like, he wanted to make it bigger, bro. And literally, we were smoking weed in his fucking car while he gave us a drift tour of Ramallah. Like drifting past the fucking Mandela statue. And
wild.
It was amazing. And we couldn't roll the windows down. We had to hotbox it, you know. And then, like, you know, you go to a place like Palestine, and as an American, you see what you see through the lens of your media, and then you get there, and you're like, I met when I was with him, I met two Palestinian guys that were rolling on ecstasy.
Yeah.
And they had a pocket full of Viagra because they're going to an orgy.
Let's go.
I mean,
let's fucking go.
But like in your mind, as an Arab, as a Muslim, you don't look at those people like that. You're they're not partying.
Yeah.
Dude, every night in Ramallah, man, clubs, people out dancing, drinking. It's like it's not what you expect, man. And I just wish more and more people could be able to experience that shit, you know, because even me being Arab, I should know better. But then when I got there, I realized I didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a part of the dehumanization effort, right? Because it's not just them over there being like, you're not human. It's a part of the proliferation of their characterization through media to the point where, you know, you meet somebody from Palestine and you're like surprised that they're a human being. Right? You're like, oh, you're a human being. You have wants, desires, needs.
Flaws.
Yeah, idiosyncrasies.
Addictions.
Things about you that make you human.
Yeah.
And it's such a clear contrast to the media portrayal where they're not humanized, right? Where they're constantly dehumanized in such a way as to justify their constant death, their constant victimization.
You know, and then I can't stand, like, you know, I'll listen to Ben Shapiro.
Why?
Because I like to listen to everything. I like to, you know, when I listen to people like Ben Shapiro, people like you say, why? I go, I'm in the military. I call that monitoring enemy transmissions.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, it's like
keeping your enemies close.
And not only that, kind of trying to also, like, I think there was this terminology that a journalist on Joe Rogan's podcast said that another journalist friend of his coined. He coined it nut picking. Have you heard this before?
I mean,
this journalist said,
not in the journalist sense.
This journalist said that that he believed, and I agree. He goes, what we're doing now more than ever is we're nut picking, meaning that instead of journalism being this thing where it's like, hey, here are all the facts. Instead, it's like a liberal journalist showing you the nuttiest of the conservatives and going, well, look, and that's what Ben Shapiro does. What a lot of these other people do. So you'll listen to Ben Shapiro, and what he's doing is he's nut picking. Instead of sitting there going, hey, you know, here's some facts or whatever. No, let's bring up this really crazy fucking liberal and let's talk about how fucking stupid he is, and then blanket that as all liberals, right?
Yeah.
It's nut picking.
Say what you will about Ben Shapiro, but I think he had a good take when it came to WAP. You know what I mean?
My doctor wife says
it can't get wet.
You're an idiot, man. But listen, at the same time, man, I listen to him for because sometimes, man, even though you don't agree with somebody, instead of nut picking, I mine for gold. Mm-hmm. So I will listen. I will listen to see if there is something that's coming from there that can make me go, wait a second, I'm not going to get this nugget of information from listening to a liberal, and now I can take that and look into it to see if there's any valid points. Sometimes he does make some valid points. You can't sit there and say that everything he says is a fucking lie, but a lot of bullshit comes out of him, especially when it comes to Palestine. Because as soon as he starts talking about Palestine, he labels them the terrorists, the terrorists, the terrorists, the terrorists, the terrorists. There's no in between with this motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know?
Not a lot of nuance with with Ben Shapiro when it comes to Palestine.
Not when it comes to Palestine, but when it comes to
He's
other stuff.
very nuanced when it comes to anything else.
You can't stand him, huh?
It's not that I can't stand him. I understand his place in society. And so, like, you know, I check in with him occasionally to see what he is misdirecting to the people who follow him. I check in with Rachel Maddow, his twin, to check in with what's happening on...
You don't like Rachel Maddow?
I think they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
Right?
I believe
they
the same thing.
They have the same haircut. It's like...
They probably have the same pussy.
Yeah. Neither of them get wet.
None of them get wet. Hey, you have a medical condition. That's what he was trying to say. If your pussy gets that wet, you have a medical condition. No, motherfucker, you're just not sexy enough to get that shit that wet.
Get that checked out.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy, bro?
Get it checked out by someone who's not a doctor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good to check in with both of those like extremes and sort of see how the public is being misinformed.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with you there, but I certainly don't like listen to them for information for myself.
I do. I listen to him to just try to be like, what information are my conservative friends getting from this guy?
100% that.
You know,
it's
how can
what did you say? It's
monitoring enemy transmissions.
Yeah, that's official. That's what it is. That's what I do. that's a technical term of what I do.
So yeah, monitoring enemy transmissions. Well, what are these motherfuckers talking about right now?
But to that point, you say like, oh, do you think there's anybody who's looking out for what you're saying? And it's like, well, maybe. You know what I mean?
What do you mean looking out for what you're saying?
Because if you're monitoring enemy transmissions, I think Zionists probably are as well.
Yeah, but I mean, like, are they going to be wasting time with someone like me who doesn't have that many views? You know,
the thing is,
have you reached the views or the popularity where they're going to be like jamming your Zoom call?
They saw me as a threat from the very beginning when I had almost no followers. They addressed me to begin with.
Who?
Right? The Zionists.
Wow.
They sought me out. They were all up in my comments, in my DMs, trying to get me to stop making videos.
Oh, really?
Yes. From the very beginning.
I want to read some of these, man.
Bro, if you scroll back through my TikTok, it's me going to war with different Zionists online.
I've had to go through with that.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's
when
like,
I post videos about Palestine or whatever.
Yeah. So I just had to take their arguments, deconstruct them, thrash them a little bit, roast them. You know what I mean? Some of them are built like they got a helmet for a head. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I had to do. And then, you know, I got tired of that and moved on to more productive things.
Do you think that like... And I don't think that you... do you want to finish your point?
No, just that they're definitely monitoring traffic that goes against what they believe. And they want to try and stop anything before it gets too many views on it. And once it gets too many views, then sure, they can't really do much about it. They'll just comment that, you know, it's anti-Semitic or whatever. They'll try and sway people in the comments to believe a certain thing because they couldn't stop the actual transmission of the message itself.
I think it's safe to say that the media... in our country has been highly influenced by Zionists.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be weird to say anything otherwise.
Okay. Do you think that there is any type of paradigm shift that can happen in media that can shift that away from that power? Do you think so? For example, for me, I feel like the media has been for me, from how I look at it, the biggest purveyor of, making the Palestinians the villains.
Misinformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But now that the media itself is being fractured, and what I mean by fractured, meaning it used to be one big Hollywood machine, but now because of technology, it's fracturing into smaller pieces. TikTok, Instagram, phones, cell phones, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the next, how do we popularize
I see where you're going,
a pro-Palestine idea for the masses? Do we do it through media again, like the way they did it, or what do you think? Because to me it seems like what drives people is what's popular.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who want to speak against Israel can't because it's not popular yet.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what my answer was going to be, is that the media and journalists are also not a monolith, right? And they sort of represent a microcosm of society whereby once it becomes safe, once it becomes popular to speak out for Palestine, then you'll find journalists who are actually predisposed to that message, but they just couldn't do it because they couldn't get it past their editors, or they knew that they would be encountering problems. There was actually a girl who got fired from the AP because of her problem or her critiques with the way that they were reporting, and that's the AP. You know what I mean? So if she can get fired from there for being Jewish and expressing support for Palestine, then, you know, it just shows you how deeply entrenched it is. And, you know, there are people who will speak out and will face that sacrifice, but they're doing exactly that. They are putting themselves in a position where they could lose endorsements, they could lose deals, they could lose money, right? Opportunities, family members even, right? Relationships, businesses. So yeah, I think you can do it, and I think that slowly people are coming around as it becomes safer to do so. But, you know, nobody's going to speak for Palestinians like Palestinians themselves. And that's why people were so captivated by the live footage, the videos that were coming out of Sheikh Jarrah and, you know, Mohammed El-Kurd and his sister Muna. And I think they really captivated the people's attention, because you could relate to somebody who's clearly not from where you're from rolling up and being like, I'm going to steal your house, or somebody else is going to do so. That's like very relatable. Even if you don't understand anything about the history of Palestine, you know that that fat motherfucker does not belong in that house. You know what I mean? Like, straight up, you are like, oh damn, I don't know anything about like the colonization of I don't know anything about the Nakba, but I know that that fucking guy belongs in Coney Island. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. I don't know, man. I just wonder what is going to be the next paradigm shift that's going to shift it in the favor of those that deserve a voice, not just Palestinians, those in Kashmir, those in, you name it. I mean, there's like a whole
Western
slew
Sahara
of people that have no fucking voice, and I'm just wondering, is media as we know it is falling apart and changing?
Yeah, I think the way we're consuming media is changing.
Right. Do you think the Zionists are still in absolute control?
No, that's the problem. That's why they don't control the narrative as much as they did before.
Because look what happened to Netflix. Netflix came out, and now all of a sudden it's like Arab TV shows, Rami, all kinds of stuff. A Palestinian, you got Mo Amer on Netflix with his special. Yeah. So to me, it's like, that
you're seeing cracks. Like Farah Nabulsi had.
It's called a fracture.
Yeah.
In economic terms, they call it an economical fracture, when an industry has to crack and fracture into multiple pieces because technology or whatever it is, and that's what's happening to entertainment. It used to be all Hollywood, and then it keeps cracking and cracking and cracking. Now it's getting into smaller little pieces.
I think Palestinian creatives are having more breakthroughs now than ever, right? Because there is access, because there is a market for them. And I think that the people in media are becoming more predisposed to what's true, because they know what they've been doing is deceitful, right? Some people probably feel bad about it. Not all of them. Some of them are happy to be in the game, do whatever, do dirty to whoever. As long as they get their, edits in on time and their bylines, they're good. They don't really care. They're not trying to rock the boat. They want to work in the White House one day.
Exactly.
But there are journalists. There are...
like the Greenwalds and so on.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy Scahill's, people like that, right? There are people who are... there's a person I love named Caitlin Johnston. She's brilliant. She is just so good at putting together the pieces of imperialism and connecting all of the dots. And so there are people like that who are genuinely interested in informing the people. And if you're interested in learning, then that information is out there, right? But a lot of people sort of prefer the lie, right?
That's true.
A lot of people are like,
safer.
America is a great nation.
We can do no wrong.
The troops have never hurt anyone.
Biden staying behind Biden,
Mamala, you know what I mean? They saw the women breastfeeding babies in Afghanistan in uniform, and they were like, breastfeed them through the uniform. That's Kamala Harris's dream. You know what I mean? It's like there will always be those people who are unreachable, but I think that some people are reachable. And it's basically all we can do to try and reach them and continue to humanize Palestinians so that when you meet a Palestinian, the first thing you think is not, oh, it's weird that you're human to me.
Right. It's more, you're human to me.
You're human.
You've been human to me before I met you.
Of course you're human.
Right.
You're a human.
It's fucking frustrating, brother.
Yeah.
It really is frustrating.
But conversations like these are helpful, right? Because I think that it's very likely that your audience has a different opinion than I do, but we found common ground regardless, right?
Yeah.
Even on the defund the police thing, it's like you don't like the slogan, but you kind of like what the policy calls for, right?
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
We can agree more than we can disagree. And once we stop squabbling about sort of like the petty terms, houselessness, homelessness,
or ideologies,
whatever, we can work towards a common goal.
The middle, bro. The middle is gone.
Not even, yeah. I mean, I don't like to say the middle because I don't like a left-right paradigm. I think that's sort of like a fake paradigm that exists.
When I say the middle, I mean meeting in the middle.
Okay, compromise.
What I'm saying, not only compromise, don't even have to be compromise. Just the fucking fact that like the left and the right can't even come and discuss things anymore.
Everybody's an extremist.
It used to be a way. We used to be a thing where in this country, if you were a liberal and I was a conservative, we could still bat around the ideas, and it would still. We wouldn't be angry at each other at the way. Now the conversations are not even fucking happening.
I always love when people say that, because if you look at American history, there were senators who literally shot each other on the Senate floor.
Well, back in the day.
But what I'm saying is, like,
I'm talking about like
now it's like we just won't tweet at each other.
I'm talking about just like 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Look, there's merit to what you're saying. I think that there was more camaraderie between people in the country, and that was exhibited by the representatives as well, who would vote and disagree, but ultimately go hang out and smoke cigars or whatever. I understand that perspective. That said, I think it is important to remember that there are members of the Senate who beat each other to death with their sticks, their walking sticks, because of the contentious arguments that happened around slavery and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, look, people are more divided. That's what it is that people, individual people, are more divided. Everybody is sort of siloing, right? Going into their own level of comfort, trying to make sure that they have enough toilet paper, trying to make sure that it's like
make sure they're saying the right thing so that the people in their own fucking group don't ostracize them.
Yeah. But there are many of us who are speaking out, and I've felt more love and more compassion, and honestly, I've become the person that I've always wanted to be in doing this work for Palestine.
Bro, I'm fucking blown away by what you've been doing so far.
Thank you so much.
That's why I'm really glad to have you on the podcast.
So
I'm glad to have you as a friend. I'm glad to have you as like a fellow comedian, and that you blindsided me with this. You know what I'm saying? How many times have we talked to each other at open mics or at comedy shows or whatever? We never got into politics like this, you know, and here I had no idea there was this ally, you know, and not that I ever looked at you as being Jewish. I knew you, but I never you know what I mean? Yeah. It never crossed my mind. Like when I meet people, I don't like, oh, this person's Jewish and that person, whatever. No, it's whatever. But at the same time, it's like, man, the pandemic hit. Then I saw your Instagram, and I'm like, this motherfucker's more Arab than me, man. The fuck? Like, and even like on this podcast, I'll be like, the Palestinian conflict, genocide.
But words are important, right?
It is.
Because if you've been murdered, if you've been raped, if you've had your land stolen, you know, and you've had no way to fight back really for many years, and somebody's like, well, how's that conflict going?
Exactly.
It's like, actually, how about you fucking shut up?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right. If someone was raped and you said, how did that conflict go?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, bro.
Yeah, it's not.
You're diminishing it.
Yeah.
It's just a conflict. It's a squabble.
Yeah.
What? It's just a fucking we're having a banter.
Right. They try and reduce it with words, right? And it's like words are important. Apartheid.
Anti-Semitic is a
it's a trick that they always use. You know what I mean? It's a trick. So
it is.
That's not to say that there isn't anti-Semitism that exists in the world. I am Jewish. I have experienced anti-Semitism, a lot from Zionists, but also some from other people. And, you know, neo-Nazis exist. They are allies with Zionists. They
Neo-Nazis are allies with Zionists.
Yeah. Did you see at the Jan 6th, the little kerfuffle that they had? There was the Israeli flag and somebody wearing a Camp Auschwitz t-shirt or sweatshirt, as well as 6 million Jews aren't enough. They're weird bedfellows because it's the evangelicals, right? It's that crossover of like super Christian, like, but also like white supremacy type thing. You know,
it's such a weird fucking thing, man.
Go ahead and go down Google. I don't really want to get into it, but I did outline how Nazis are similar to Zionists, and you can look into that more on my podcast, the Palestine Pod. I encourage everybody to do their own research. Definitely don't take what I'm saying right now as fact. Look into it yourself. You know what I mean? I'm confident in my understanding of history, and I hope that you all will do the research to become confident yourself.
But also, you're the type of person I can tell that you would, if you were to be wrong, you'd recant and be like,
of course,
yeah, I made a mistake.
No,
you know?
Of course. Anytime.
And we can't expect you or anybody to be right all the fucking time.
We take great pains on the podcast to make sure that everything is sourced. So before we publish the podcast, we literally go through it claim by claim, which, let me tell y'all, is exhausting.
I bet.
And we find a source, a reputable source, sometimes even an Israeli source, you know what I mean, to confirm the thing that we've said, because we don't like misleading people. That's the Zionist's job.
What do you think about the Haaretz news?
What do I think about them?
Yeah, I don't know anything, but I've always known that they were supposed to be kind of like the liberal-leaning newspaper in Israel.
What is a liberal Zionist? Is that
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
What is that, like decomposable bullets? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean?
Rubber bullets.
Like everything becomes a tree once they kill someone. I don't. It's like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing, and that's why it annoys me so much.
The Israelis, we created a bullet, and when you shoot a Palestinian, it plants an olive tree. So you know they're mad about the olive trees.
But that we'll later burn that tree because we don't.
Jesus fucking Christ, bro.
Yeah, man, and it's like. That's why it annoys me so much when people are like, oh, I'm not a political Zionist. I'm a fucking economical or whatever type of Zionist they think. It's like, it doesn't matter what type of Zionist you believe you are.
I've heard some really, really dumb things from Zionists. There was an editor that I used to...
That surprises me.
There was an editor, a head editor that I used to work with on the show Swamp People that I was producing. Mm-hmm. And,
Flex.
And he's Jewish, and he would like, whatever. And I remember one time... he was like always trying to convince me that Israel's okay, and in one of his arguments,
they're always trying to convince you.
Oh my God!
Why is that? You know what I mean? Why are they always trying to so convincing?
One of his arguments, I remember, he told me, he was like, "But Mike, look at the Palestinians. They have an economy." Yeah, that's exactly. I laughed at him. I'm like, we're not talking about money. We're talking about human rights. You fucking gerbil. He was a fat, like gerbil looking motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that was his his rebuttal. He was just like,
let me tell you,
they can live and eat food, they can buy things, and they have an economy.
Hard to argue. They do have an economy.
Fuck.
It has been thoroughly suppressed and destroyed by the Zionists. The Zionists owe them billions of dollars in back pay. They've destroyed farmland. They've destroyed entire industries. Fishing is nearly non-existent because the people of Gaza who live by the sea, right, who are adjacent to the sea, can't really fish because they only can go out to 6 miles of sea land or of sea water, nautical miles or whatever. And like most of the fish are after 9 miles, where they will be murdered by the Navy.
How can people be that hateful, bro? How could you how could you curate that many hateful people?
How could the Jews be put into concentration camps? How could black people be put into Bantustans in South Africa? How could we be sterilizing Mexican people in this country?
But what's more baffling about Israel, these are people who've learned a lesson. You'd think they would have learned a lesson.
I had
what I'm talking about?
I had a native
that's
activist,
the thing that blows me away.
Lila June, and she said it best. She said, if you don't learn to forgive your oppressor, you will become them. And shout out Lila June. Check out that episode of the Palestine Pod. She drops a lot of knowledge. I'm
gonna have to check that one out, man.
And it's true. It's they've replicated. They didn't study the Warsaw Ghetto just for fun. You know what I mean? They studied the Warsaw Ghetto so that they could replicate it from the side of the Nazis. And they did. They have. Gaza has been under blockade for the last 15 years. They've bombed the shit out of it. 97% of the water in Gaza is not potable water. Think about that. 3%, only 3% of the water that gets into Gaza is potable. That's
For those of you who don't know what potable means, what does it mean? Because I don't know what that means.
It means that you can drink it.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's what it means, but I never heard potable before.
It means that it's safe for you to drink.
Yeah.
And that means that most of the water that gets into Gaza is not potable. That is called murder by legislation, right? That is policy that is designed to kill people.
To me, I'm blown away how we can be Black Lives Matter, which is important.
Which it absolutely does.
But then it's like, that's where the buck stops for a lot of people.
And that's what made me so vocal, honestly, is like I saw that...
The buck stops there.
No, it's like I saw that I was doing a good amount trying to raise awareness for people in my community, but I'm also a citizen of the globe, right? And so there is no cause more just, there is no cause more righteous than that of Palestinian liberation. It is the litmus test by which any activist can be judged. Right? Malcolm X, Dr. Angela Davis, Kwame Ture,
Gandhi.
Yeah, sure. All of them, right, are in support of Palestinian liberation. And so if you are listening to somebody who is not in support of Palestinian liberation, just know that they are on the opposite side of history of Dr. Angela Davis.
Before we go, do you consider yourself Jewish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Religiously?
I mean, I'm not super religious. I think that, you know, I have a lot of respect for Judaism as a religion, and I am certainly learning more and more about the customs and the traditions that I sort of turned away from as a kid because I didn't understand the difference between Zionism and Judaism, right? I was sort of in a place where I was unable to differentiate the two because of the spaces that I was in. And so the more I'm learning about Judaism, the more I fall in love with Judaism every day, right? And there are people who are great teachers who help me learn more about my own religion. But by and large, I'm not a super religious person, right? I'm more interested in direct action, like what I can do right here, right now. And sort of like whatever happens after, happens after. I think that like being a good person, caring about your immediate circle, your community at large, those are the things that religion will ultimately try and teach. And so if you just do those things, if you honor those things, then you're honoring the religion without, you know, wearing a kippah or keeping kosher or, you know, performing all of the rituals all the time.
Yeah. Just don't be an asshole. Be nice.
That's it.
Be kind
right
to
there.
people. Wash your ass.
Oh, definitely that. Shout out to the bidets.
Oh, I got one too.
Honestly, bidets are like getting your ass eaten by a river.
I
This
don't,
shit is
I
nice.
don't care about that shit. I'm not a big thing about getting that ass play. Like when the water hits my butt, I'm like, nothing. I don't. Some people are like, woo.
Oh, me neither. Yeah, me neither. It's totally weird.
All right, but we got to wrap this up, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
You were
What
the
a great
fucking shit,
podcast.
man. It's fucking just really, really great to see people like you going against the grain and getting all this attention and curating a lot of people's interest to really see, you know, the Palestinian conflict for what it is.
Bruh.
Palestinian genocide.
The occupation and colonization of Palestine.
Yes, okay, I'm gonna train myself to be better at this. But I think it's great, man. I think it's just so awesome because honestly, I think we are at a point right now in this world where we need more people like you who are of a whatever creed that they are of to call out their own side. And I think right now a lot of people are hungry for that. That's why we're starting to see, you know, podcasts where conservatives are calling out other That's why I love listening to Jimmy Dore. Here's a guy who's a progressive liberal who spends the majority of his time showing liberals how shitty Democrats are, which is something you never see too often, but we need that because when you get somebody who says, hey, I consider myself Jewish or I consider myself liberal and I'm going to be honest enough to say my side is fucked up too, a lot of people really listen. And I think what you say is very credible to a lot of people who are listening to you. And I think that it's dangerous to the Zionists, and I support that shit, man. Anything,
Thank you, bro.
Anything that brings positivity into this world, brother. You're fucking awesome.
Likewise.
The pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to you.
I don't know about that.
The Palestine and shit. But anyways, love you, brother. Thank you so much, guys. Follow him, Michael _Schirtzer on Instagram. He's live on there. He's and then follow the Palestine Pod.
Pod.
With his host, Gaza Girl.
Gazan Girl.
Gazan Girl.
Inshallah, Palestine will be free.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Love you guys. Mike from Detroit. Follow me. Subscribe to me on everything on YouTube. We go live. I go live by myself every Wednesday, 2 p.m. And then I try to have a guest sometime during the week. But you can always count Wednesday, 2 p.m. I'll be here talking by myself. Follow me on Apple Podcasts. I'll be uploading the audio version up there too. You can find it on Spotify, Stitcher, all of that. Rate me, please. Give me some 5 stars. Show me some love. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 2 p.m. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Public Yemeni #1.